What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 11MA Chapter 188 looks stable on the outside, but panics inside. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Kadalu, representing the face and dignity of half of Marineford. It's, among the hundreds of thousands of official Marines, the bottom line and self-esteem of the last integrity. Kadalu, who is Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, has already stood up and challenged Layfon. Naturally, what he represented was not his own honor, but half of the Marineford collective. Strictly speaking, Kadalu represents half of Marineford's Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. If he loses, naturally the rest of the Rear Admiral will not have to play again. On the contrary, if Kadalu wins, this challenge will end here. Officially so, Kadalu's psychological pressure will appear so huge. Facing all directions, the voices of cheers and cheers spread. Instead of feeling full of confidence, Kadaru became more and more guilty. Do not know why, he could only feel that the cold sweat on his back was pouring out crazily, almost soaking his coat wet. The cold touch on his back made his body become more dull and stiff. In particular, feeling the overwhelming sound sweeping from all directions. This made Kadalu's state plummet, and his mood became more and more frightened and uneasy. These guys feel as if they want to let themselves die. Shouting and cheering all the time. Can't you be deaf yourself? Is the February 47 inches that I need is cheering. What I need is a way to get myself out of danger. Instead of cheering and shouting. Okay, stop shouting. Still shouting. Want me to die faster? This brat, he is very wrong. I have mastered such a terrifying and proficient armed color at the age of 7, and the level of this armed color is still so high. You let me deal with this terrible monster. Are you all right? Is there something wrong with me, or is there something wrong with you? Let me deal with a freak who is 7 years old and has a higher level of armed color than me. I must be crazy. Kadalu felt remorse in his heart. Maid is so sloppy. I'm still too impulsive. Who knew that this 7-year-old kid's strength could be so terrifying and strange? Only 7 years old. Who the hell can control such a high-level armed color when he is 7 years old? This is heavy and unreasonable. Okay. Whose child can master the armed color at the age of 7? And he has also refined the weapon to such an extent. It is higher than the armed color that I have practiced for 10 years. Can anyone explain? I can't understand it anyway. Kadalu subconsciously took half a step back, staring at Layfon in front of him with eyes full of vigilance and horror, not daring to act rashly again. He had finally brewed an offensive, but it was disintegrated by himself on his own initiative. By himself, he forcibly diffuses the offensive. The reason for all this is because Kadalu saw the katana in Layfon's hand and the black armor wrapped in it. That fierce aura, facing Kadalu's body directly, made him feel very deeply. A majestic and incomparable aura of coercion enveloped his body. That moment, Kadalu also vaguely had an illusion, as if what he was facing was not a 7-year-old child, but a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral with terrifying strength. It was this illusion that made Kadalu goosebumps all over his body. His face became a little frightened, the cold air rose from the soles of his feet, and his scalp was numb. Powerful. Too strong. That majestic sense of oppression is always entangled in Kadalu's body. The Layfon in front of him gave Kadalu the feeling that he was a young but terrifying monster. All this is beyond the scope of common sense. It stands to reason. For such a young brat, his strength is at best like that. But only the Layfon he encountered before him is a completely different and terrifying existence. Advertisement. Young, but with extremely terrifying strength. Vice Admiral. Although it may not be as good as Vice Admiral, but the strength of this brat must have been infinitely close to Vice Admiral, not the level of the so-called just entering Rear Admiral. This kid, what did he eat to grow up? How the hell can he be such a monster? There really is such a monster in this sea. I have learned a lot today. Kadalu had lingering fears, and his mind was in a mess. I can't figure it out all the time. How did a monster grow up to what it is today? Talent. Is this something talent can do? After thinking about it, it seems that this is the only possibility. Other than talent, the assembly couldn't think of a second possibility. Insanely talented. If not, how could this kid have allowed his own strength to reach such an unimaginable level at only 7 years old? This is already infinitely close to Vice Admiral. This strength, even if placed in the first half of the Grand Line, is already a top-level powerhouse. Sloppy. Too hasty. Before launching the challenge, I didn't even know the enemy's ability. This wave is really too impulsive. Kadalu was full of regret. How did he know? The strength that kills Corsi in seconds is not the ultimate strength of the 7-year-old Layfon. On the contrary, it is more than enough, and it is deeply clumsy. This moment, Kadaru saw it. Layfon's clumsy strength should not be too scary. This brat was never serious from the beginning. Even when he killed Kailashi in seconds, the brat didn't take it seriously either. Kadaran can estimate very accurately. At the moment of instantly killing Corsi, Layfon used at most 10 to 20% of his strength. But it was Corsi, the Commodore powerhouse whose strength was infinitely close to Rear Admiral. Unfortunately, Kadalu understood, it was too late. He has officially entered the training ground and challenged Layfon. All this, there is no way back. You can only go forward, not backward. This is the dilemma Kadalu needs to face now. It's over. Should I give in first and make a statement? However, I am also a dignified Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Can I be subdued? You let me be a dignified Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral to give up. To admit defeat. Is Kadalu shameless? Are you kidding me? Only, I won't be the target of Marineford if I throw in the towel. Just thought of. Much of Marineford had high hopes for itself. Can be final. He didn't even fight himself, so he suddenly gave in. In this way, what are the consequences of welcoming yourself? Kadalu's face suddenly became a little pale, and his face was full of fear. Not good. I'm afraid I want to be the target of everyone in Marineford. Very bad. Kadaru had a bad feeling. If he really takes the initiative to admit defeat, he will be finished. When the time comes, Marineford, where is his place? Each of these hundreds of thousands of official Marines will drown him with every mouthful of saliva. No, absolutely cannot admit defeat. Advertisement. You can't admit defeat even if you are killed. The main reason is not to be afraid of being cast aside by colleagues like Marineford. Is it because I am Rear Admiral, don't I want to lose face? That's right, you still have to save face. I'm not scared anymore, these guys from Marineford spurned me. You can't go in, you can't go back. I stepped on the horse and was trapped in the middle. Wolf before and tiger after. This wave is over. It's still caused by impulsiveness. If you are not too impulsive, let's wait and see what happens. At least, I will not be the one who died. The other Rear Admiral rushed forward, and they were the ones who died. I'm still too young after all. Kadaru shuddered all over, and his lips trembled. In a short time, he thought a lot. He finally understood. Why are other Rear Admirals indifferent? Of course they are Rear Admirals, all of them are human beings. They are all waiting for an early bird. Just like. Everyone was waiting, just like the scene where Karasi was killed in seconds. Karasi was the first to stand out. And inside the countless Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. I am the first bird in Rear Admiral. As the saying goes. Shoot the bird that stands out. My current wave has become the first bird. The target of being a 7-year-old brat. I'm a Rear Admiral, am I so humble? It's unscientific, like I am a dignified Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, where is it not Daxian Kamui? Will I suffer at the hands of a 7-year-old kid? This group of old cunts. Kadalu couldn't help complaining in his heart. A group of Rear Admirals are waiting for him, a young bird. It's good now. At this moment, he is facing a dilemma. Attack. Then he will have to face Layfon, whose armed color level is several times higher than his. Although he is only 7 years old, how dare he really treat Layfon as an ordinary 10-year-old kid with such a high level of armed color? Have you seen the imp child who controls armament hockey? What the hell, the armed color controlled by this kid is several times higher than that of Kadalu. After all, he had honed for 10 years before he possessed the strength of the armed forces he has today. But Layfon, a brat, has only been in contact with armed colors for a few years at most. But the opponent's armed color level and strength are so high. Who would dare to treat this little ghost as an ordinary 7-year-old child? Ordinary 4.17-year-old child, is there such a scary thing? Since Layfon cast the armed color, Kadalu's mood ushered in a completely opposite change. From the essence of life, it is completely different. Resulting in, the current Kadalu is not only lacking in self-confidence, but also full of fear, apprehension, tension, and many negative emotions are filling his heart. At this moment, he showed two completely different emotional waves from the one who entered the arena in high spirits before. Kadalu stood stiffly on the spot, his body was like a statue, motionless, appearing extraordinarily calm and steady. I shouldn't take the initiative to stand up and challenge. The Layfon in front of me is completely different from the other children. This kid who is only 7 years old, his strength can be so strong. Although Kadalu seems to be very stable on the outside, in fact, he has a lot of virtue in his heart. He has already pulled up his spirits, his eyes are focused and cautious, and he dare not be careless at all. But at the moment, Kadalu stared at Layfon in front of him tightly, not daring to relax. But no one knows. However, whoever steps on a horse can think of it. When he first entered the arena, Kadalu still seemed confident, and seemed to be in control of everything, the kind who could dominate the outcome with a single thought. Kadalu slandered inwardly. Advertisement chapter 189. Which of your eyes sees that I have a chance to win? Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. A chilling air emerged spontaneously. The atmosphere is depressing. The majestic momentum collided with each other, and the diffuse breath enveloped all directions. Hundreds of thousands of formal Marines stared at Kadalu's steady figure, seeing Kadalu holding a saber covered with armed armor, with expressions full of admiration and admiration. Strong. Kadalu Rear Admiral is still so strong. So steady. As expected of Kadalu Rear Admiral. This is what our Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral should look like, calm. Even in the face of any crisis and battle, we are calm as if everything is under control, that kind of strategizing. Confidence to win thousands of miles. Look, this is the Marine of our Marineford, this is the Marine Rear Admiral in our mind. Take it easy and face any danger in battle. The Corsi Commodore, after all, is just a Commodore, not a Rear Admiral. In this comparison, the gap between the Corsi Commodore and the Kadalu Rear Admiral is really too big. Right now, the calm ability shown by Kadalu Rear Admiral is enough to make Corsi Commodore far behind. I have a hunch. Next, Kadalu Rear Admiral will explode with full force. Pairs of expectant eyes gathered and fixed on Kadalu. The hundreds of thousands of Marines present have high hopes for Kadalu. As Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, Kadalu represents the dignity of half of Marineford, and also represents Marineford's Rear Admiral level Marine. If Kadaru loses, naturally, there is no need for a second Rear Admiral to re-enter to initiate a challenge. Kadalu is enough to represent the level of strength of the entire Rear Admiral. If even Kadalu can't win, whichever Rear Admiral enters the field will basically be useless. Unless, use numbers to consume the opponent's physical strength, so as to defeat the opponent in one fell swoop. If not, there is basically no second possibility. A Commodore is just a Commodore, nothing compared to a Major General. It's not, even if Vice Admiral Garp's grandson, Corsi Commodore is second. But what he has to face now is Kadalu Rear Admiral, a powerful Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Look at all of you. Kadalu Rear Admiral's calm state of mind, I can see it from his expression. Kadalu Rear Admiral thinks that he has won, and wants to overwhelm him with momentum other side. Yes, I think so too. The audience cheers. Excited speech resounded in all directions. In this environment, Kadalu felt as if his heart was about to stop beating. What the hell? Out of nowhere, how did you blow yourself up? Something is wrong. These guys are very wrong. You want me to die? Kadalu's throat was dry and his forehead was dripping with cold sweat. It's over. He started to panic. Calm. Which of your eyes saw that I was very calm? Which of your eyes sees that I have the chance to win? I am a panicked group when I ride a horse. Why can't I act rashly? That's not because the 7-year-old kid in front of him is so frightening. His armed color level is so high, how can I dare to attack easily? Am I courting death? Emotion. In your eyes, my performance in a panic is as stable as Mount High, and the chances of victory are in your hands. Please stop messing around. My little heart really can't bear your shouts and cheers. I beg you, please stop shouting, otherwise I really don't know how to end it. I implore you all to take a closer look. The 7-year-old monster in front of me carefully looked at the layer of black armed armor wrapped around his blade, and then you can judge my current situation and situation. His armed color level is at least 3 or 4 times higher than mine. You guys want me to deal with this kind of monster? Stop playing. My old bones can't stand your toss. I am a sinner. Advertisement. I shouldn't be an early bird, I shouldn't be so impulsive to stand up and challenge, let you have high expectations of me, I was wrong. If I could be given a chance to regret it, I would keep my tail between my legs and keep a low profile. I would never dare to underestimate this 7-year-old brat again. How did I know that he is only 7 years old, and he can be as powerful as a monster? If I had known earlier, I would not have entered. I was wrong. Give me a chance. Kadaru wailed and longed inwardly. In particular, hearing the cheers and cheers from all around, he felt even more frightened. Not good. Very bad. If things continue like this, don't I have to be crushed by this brat in front of me? Feeling the terrifying oppressive feeling emanating from Layfon, Kadalu became more and more depressed, anxious, and nervous. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the blood on his face gradually became pale and bloodless. Calm. Non-existent. It looks calm on the outside, but Kadalu's mood is already in a state of confusion, but the appearance seems calm, that's all. As for winning, Kadalu's current appearance has a lot to do with the winning chance. It's 1,000 miles away. I don't know why either. You guys look at me in a panic, and think that I have the chance to win. And you can control everything in the palm of your hand. I don't even know it, I'm so emotional. If you used to think highly of me, I would be very excited. But now, the situation is obviously wrong. I beg you to stop shouting, I really want to kill you. I'm not calm at all, and I'm not calm at all. Kadalu, I'm in a panic now. Kadalu stared at the young figure in front of him. It was this young figure that endowed him with an endless sense of oppression. Let his body stiffen, standing still and not daring to move, for fear of disturbing Layfon in front of him. Layfon, like a dormant beast. There is a slight change. Kadalu had a premonition that he might be hammered by Layfon on the opposite side with extremely sharp means. Cold sweat slowly trickled down from Kadalu's forehead. He didn't dare to make big moves. The sense of oppression that Layfon brought to him is really too strong. Kadalu Rear Admiral, are you nervous? Layfon, who was located opposite Kadalu, suddenly seemed to have a feeling, his eyes narrowed slightly, and the expression on his face seemed a little meaningful. Nervous. I think, you must be wrong. I'm Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, facing you, a mere 7-year-old kid, I will feel nervous and apprehensive. What are you kidding? Kadalu forced a laugh, suppressed the fear in his heart as much as possible, and tried to behave like a normal person. But no matter what, he still couldn't hide it, the trembling emotional waves were completely unconcealed in his body, and every small movement and detail of his body revealed the ups and downs of his mood at the moment. Wrong. Maybe. Since that's the case, Kadalu Rear Admiral, then be careful. Layfon slowly raised the katana in his hand. The blade flickered coldly. A layer of black armed armor is completely wrapped around the blade. It makes the blade indestructible, like a steel armor covering the samurai sword, making the blade exude a sharper and sharper aura. Hey, is this going to start? Shouldn't you tell the truth first? Wait a minute, you brat, you are too violent. It's not good to be so violent at such a young age. Vice Admiral Garp should teach you well and let you suppress your tendency to violence. Can you truce first and let me adjust my status? Kadaru was completely panicked. At the same time, A group of Rear Admiral and Vice Admiral level powerhouses, they naturally also have insight into the strange development and trend of the battle situation, which seems to be completely different from what they expected. Kadalu, it's not that you don't want to make a move. Advertisement. Rather, dare not. The flying squirrel's pupils shrank. Even the ghost spider was startled, and nodded solemnly. It is true, I feel it. Kadalu is afraid. He is actually afraid of a little boy who is only 7 years old. Question mark exclamation mark quote. Kadalu's emotional performance naturally cannot conceal the insight of these veteran qualifications Vice Admiral. Kadaru is not the so-called brewing time. Just a very pure and simple reason. He dare not. Kadalu dare not do it. Look carefully. The blade in that kid's hand, covered with that layer of black armor. Does it look like? A Vice Admiral's words were never finished. Then he was interrupted by the flying squirrel. Armament hockey. There is no mistake, this must be armament hockey. As a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, and his strength can also be said to be among the best in Vice Admiral, it is naturally impossible for the flying squirrel not to know armament hockey. He is almost too familiar with the armed color. First glance. The flying squirrel can tell that the black armor wrapped by the katana sword in Layfon's hand is definitely armament hockey. This point, put on record. This brat, have you mastered even the armed color? Ghost Spider and Vice Admiral were shocked. 390 How old is this little devil? Only 7 years old. Control the armed color at the age of 7. Where did this monster come from? And if you observe carefully, you will be able to see it very clearly. The strength of this kid's armed color seems to be much higher than that of Kadalu on the opposite side. Huo Shaoshan Vice Admiral spoke. He seems to be talking non-stop. These words just fell. Indeed, to varying degrees, the Vice Admirals such as flying squirrels and ghost spiders were shocked. Their eyes widened and rounded, and they stared at Layfon's figure with horror on their faces. Under observation. Sure enough, they found out. The level of the armed color used by Kadalu cannot be compared with Lay's armed color at all. The difference is indeed obvious. The difference in the level of armed color between the two is too great. This moment, they finally understood. Why did Kadalu stagnate? The offensive that was originally brewing came to an abrupt end, and Shen Tong's eyes firmly revealed the emotional waves of fear and love. Emotion. The armed color of this kid is higher than that of Kadalu. At only 7 years old, he has mastered such a strong armed color. This. All of this is too shocking. This was serious, and it frightened Kadalu very much, which made Kadalu dare not act rashly anymore, acting as if he was facing a big enemy and was uneasy. A group of veteran Vice Admirals were stunned one after another. Can't understand. A kid who is only 7 years old has such a high level of armed color. The level of armed color is actually higher than that of the majestic Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Camilla. Even if they thought about it, they couldn't think of a reason. This is the current level of armed color intensity. How many years has Kadalu's armed color been cultivated? The minds of a group of Vice Admirals became chaotic. So here comes the problem. They never imagined it. He's only 7 years old. Everything in front of them overturned their cognition. More than 10 years. At what age did one start contacting the armed color in order to cultivate the strength of the armed color to this level? But this kid is only 7 years old. This kid, what kind of monster is it? Advertisement Chapter 190 Damn, young people nowadays don't talk about martial arts. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Armed color. Hina's beautiful eyes were full of horror. On her pretty face, her expression fluctuated crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye. Emotion. Wasn't this brat's true strength when he was instantly killed back then? Just casually making a shot, you will kill yourself in seconds. If at that time, this brat is using an armed weapon, I'm afraid I'm going to be severely injured by her, or even killed on the spot. Hina felt terrified. She only felt it deeply now. Layfon, a 7-year-old kid, is such a terrifying and dangerous monster. Do not know why. I always feel that Kadalu Rear Admiral seems to be uneasy. Hina has a keen insight. The reason why Kadalu didn't launch an attack was because he didn't dare to act rashly, not because he was planning an attack. This discovery made the mood even more frightening. What's going on? Kadalu, the mighty Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. How dare he not even dare to act rashly against a kid who is only 7 years old? This is definitely too low grade. Different from the excitement and expectation of all the onlookers around, Hina only felt that the trend and development of the battle situation almost ran counter to her imagination. She thought so. Kadalu can defeat Layfon with an absolutely crushing attitude. But the fact is that it is completely opposite. At the same time, the three of them, Pokato, Kebi, and Belumbo, also noticed the strange development trend of the battle situation. Their throats were dry and their eyes were focused on the changes in the battle situation. This brat's armed color, compared to the one 3 days ago, it is countless times stronger. Pokato was in a terrified mood. They were far away, but he could still observe that the armed color armor in Layfon's hand was obviously of a higher level than that of Kadalu on the opposite side. Of course Pokato remembered. Layfon 3 days ago, the armed color he controlled was far from reaching this level. Can be hairy. It's only been 3 days, and the brat's armed look is so terrifying. This is so unscientific. Pokato was dumbfounded. His world view was once again crushed and trampled by Layfon, and completely subverted. 3 days to cultivate the armed color level to this point. I thought, I have already overestimated the monster Layfon, but I still never expected it. I underestimated him, and I seriously underestimated him. I admit that I did not change my mind and judge the first monster with ordinary people's eyes. Layfon, the brat, he's a monster who can't be confined by convention. There are too many examples of breaking the convention that happened to him. Pocodo felt something. Maid, you shouldn't look at a monster with the eyes of ordinary people. Layfon, the brat, is a monster of monsters. In the battlefield, the atmosphere is depressing. Kodalu's back was already wet with cold sweat, his expression was full of restraint and apprehension, his eyes and pupils were fixed on Layfon, and he held a samurai sword wrapped in a layer of armed armor, not daring to move rashly. His aura seemed to have been wiped out long ago. It looks stable on the outside, but Kodalu has already panicked in his heart. In particular, feeling the majestic coercion released by Layfon made Kodalu feel uneasy, and the tension filled his body and mind. Are you going to do it? Little ghost, what kind of heroes are those who shout and kill? Aren't you going to talk about reason? Kodalu couldn't help thinking humbly in his heart. Subconsciously, he took another half step back, firmly grasping the saber in his right hand, his eyes were full of caution, and he was already full of energy, not daring to relax or be careless at all. Of course he does. What a terrifying monster Layfon is facing. It is precisely because of this that he dare not relax. A little careless. He felt that he might be instantly killed. That's right, Kodalu felt a similar feeling all the time. It is very likely that it will be killed in seconds. Advertisement. Even if he is the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, he will not be an exception. Although, this thought made Kodalu feel horrified. But for some reason, he thought so with certainty in his heart. I am Rear Admiral, will I be killed in seconds? He is a mere 7-year-old kid, how can he beat me by one face to face? Kodalu, knelt down on the spot today to learn from his teacher. Kodalu clenched his fists tightly, gritted his teeth, and kept encouraging himself in his heart. There was an endless stream of voices full of admiration from all directions. These shouts of cheers and cheers spread to Kodalu's ears, not only did not make him confident, but they were still wearing down his self-confidence. Depressed. The majestic and terrifying aura was fully released from Layfon's body. Sharp. The monstrous sharpness spread across Kodalu's body. The sharp edge of the swordsman released from Layfon squeezed every cell in Kodalu's body, making the latter terrified and his state plummeted. Compared to the beginning, Kadaruna is in a confident state. This moment, when being oppressed by Layfon's momentum and the oppression brought about by the level of armed color, Kodalu's state is facing a fate of continuous decline. Not good. Very bad. Kodalu secretly felt bad. His expression became more and more vigilant. Under the sun, the meaning of warmth is full of lingering in the air. But with the coercion of the majestic aura spreading from Layfon's body, the temperature in the air plummeted a little, and it became a little cold and overwhelming. Kodalu Rear Admiral, are you ready? Layfon's eyes twinkled, and he spoke with a smile. The sound fell and spread everywhere. The words passed into Kodalu's ears, like the chanting of a demon, which made Kodalu's body full of goosebumps, and he felt shuddering and creepy. Little devil, don't forget. I'm a Marine. Kodalu just opened his mouth. Then, he saw it. At some point, Feng had disappeared in place. People. What about people? Where did people go? Kodalu's pupils shrank, and the words came to his mouth, and he swallowed them all, stuck in his throat and unable to speak out. He widened his eyes, his pupils turned quickly, and looked around in all directions, trying to find the disappearing figure of Lei Dong. Cold sweat trickled down from his forehead. The air seemed to freeze. It made Kodalu's body extremely dull and stiff. Crisis everywhere. A majestic sense of crisis enveloped Kodalu's body, keeping his spirit in a state of high tension. The seemingly ubiquitous crisis brought Kodalu into an unprecedented state of seriousness. He was meticulous, holding the samurai sword covered with armed armor in his hand, and did not dare to be careless at all. Main idea, how dare he be careless? In the face of such a terrifying strong man, if he is really careless, he will die in the next second. The color of knowledge, observation haki, fully released by Kadaru. His body's 5 senses are being fully improved, and he has been upgraded to ultimate. He has a very keen insight into every move of the surrounding objects. The area with a radius of hundreds of meters was affected by Kodalu's knowledge. A little bit of movement of any objects around is presented in his mind, slowed down hundreds of times, so that infinite magnification can give him a clear insight. Felt it. Kodalu's eyes froze, staring at the area of air on the left-hand side. Next second, I see. In the empty air, a young figure appeared out of nowhere, holding a samurai sword covered in black armor. Quick, Layfon's speed is up to ultimate. If it weren't for the full influence of knowledge, Kodalu would not be able to perceive that Layfon had been so close to him before he knew it. This kid's Marine 6 styles is also very skilled. Advertisement. Kadaru was taken aback. This is the 6 style shaving. Of course he saw it. Before Kodalu's thoughts surged, Layfon's offensive was already bigger than before. Caught off guard, quick and defenseless, Kodalu clenched his teeth, holding the saber covered with armed armor, and quickly placed the saber horizontally in front of him, trying to resist Layfon's attack. However, he ignored it. Layfon's knowledgeable level is not low. Just as Kodalu made these precautionary actions, Layfon disappeared in place again. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. When it reappeared, Layfon was already standing on Kadalu's back, with a samurai sword covered in armor-colored armor in his hand, looking extraordinarily fierce and fierce. Cold, biting cold, from the back, spread to the body. It made Kadalu fall into an ice cave all over his body, and the icy and piercing breath from his back seemed to freeze his body, and his reaction ability became extremely slow. The air temperature plummeted. Kadalu trembled all over, resisting the panic, and turned around quickly. But his movements were still too slow after all. Slow. That's it. Also Marine Rear Admiral. It seems that it is just a little bit better than the Commodore just now. At most, it has more control over the two-color hockey than the Commodore, that's all, there is not much change. Layfon slowly swung the katana from his hand. The blades of the black-armed armor cut through the sky, tearing apart the air. With lightning speed, the knife flashed. The blade has already arrived at the area behind Kadalu. Can't stop. It's too late. Kadaru was filled with horror. Can't respond. His body could not allow him to block Layfon's knife. If it was in a normal state, Kadalu would certainly not look so embarrassed. Anyway, he also has the top Rear Admiral level of strength. But the problem is, from the moment Layfon's armed color is cast, Kadalu's state was seriously affected and disturbed, and the state Qian Wangjiao Ben plummeted. This has led to Kadalu's current state appearing to be very poor, and it is understandable that the combat level has declined. Crucial moment. The sharp blade turned into the back of the blade. The back of the sword covered with armed armor, still carrying extremely terrifying violent power, hit Kadalu's back and waist in an instant. No mercy. No sloppiness at all. Boom. Huge force, transmitted from the back to the whole body. Like a meteorite falling at supersonic speed, it hit the ground in an instant. The power that exploded at that instant was simply indescribable. The huge force hit Kadalu's body in an all-round way, eroding and destroying frantically. Especially the back, withstood the huge impact of this knife. It was as if the entire spine was shattered, making him feel the heart-piercing pain all over his body, and he hummed unbearably. The young people nowadays don't talk about wood. This force penetrated into the body on the spot. Kadalu vomited blood, and his body instantly flew hundreds of meters away. Sting. FK. While spitting blood at the mouth, and flying upside down in midair crazily. In Kadalu's head, only one thought remained. The whole body was directly crushed to the toilet. It was as if the body was heavily pressed down by tens of thousands of tons of stones. All the internal organs were almost maimed on the spot. Blood spilled hundreds of meters into the sky, infecting the soil beneath his feet. Hiss. Kadalu couldn't help but gasped. The body seemed to be completely shattered. Stinging everywhere. Puff. Advertisement Chapter 191 One Knife, Instant Hit Marine Rear Admiral. Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Rumble. Finally, Kadalu flew upside down like a kite with a broken string, and his body hit the ground hundreds of meters away. Moreover, his body was under the impact of this terrifying force, and he rolled on the ground more than 10 times before he was able to stop slowly. One look. His body was stained with blood. Rear Admiral's marine uniform is already worn out, with many holes worn out by the sand and stones on the ground. Also, even the skin of Kadalu's body was shattered by the rubbing of these sandstones, blood spilled from the wound, and soon soaked in the dilapidated Rear Admiral uniform. Embarrassed. How embarrassing. It was the first time in Kadalu's life that he was killed in a single blow in such embarrassment. This knife directly seemed to shatter his back, and his spine was broken. Let his body suffer an unprecedentedly painful blow, and the heart-piercing sting almost made him faint. He was knocked hundreds of meters away and rolled on the ground, leaving a very conspicuous trace along the way. The surrounding area of the traces on the ground was almost all stained with the blood rubbed against Kadalu's body, which remained on the soil and never dissipated. The faint smell of blood flutters in the wind. Bright red, dazzling, hideous. Awful. Too tragic. Kadalu suffered the knife and immediately fell into a state of serious injuries. Although he was not on the verge of death, his body could no longer move an inch. A moment. Kadalu lost the ability to continue fighting. That means, the dignified Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Kadalu was instantly killed on the spot. With one blow, Kadalu was hit hard. This violent force penetrated the body and eroded Ka Tianlu's body. This made Kadalu lie on the ground dying, bearing the stinging pain from the broken spine and passing through his whole body. It seemed that he might pass out from pain at any time. I'm Marine Rear Admiral. Such an obsession remained in Kadalu's mind. But pointless. Marine Rear Admiral. It's no use at all. Still, just like Corsi Commodore before, suffered the end of being killed in seconds. This was a result that Kadalu could never have dreamed of. As a Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, he has always been confident in his own strength. Even just now, I felt the sense of terror and oppression emanating from Layfon. But Kadalu still doesn't think that Fuma's strength can instantly kill him. Never thought about it. As a result, something so weird and bizarre happened. The dignified Marine Rear Admiral was instantly killed. There is no way to hide from that knife. Looking back so far, Kadalu still has lingering fears, and his heart is completely dominated by panic. That little ghost is too scary. In the bottom of Kadalu's heart, a deep-seated fear was born. Aren't these young people today talking about martial arts? If you say do it, let me be defenseless. Kadalu gritted his teeth and couldn't help complaining in his heart. Too ruthless. This knife is simply planning to kill himself. Once the knife comes down, half of his life is gone. Although, Inru felt it. At the last critical moment, the sharp blade turned into the back of the blade and hit his back. Otherwise, I might be cut in half on the spot. If it's really a battle of life and death, I might already be dead. The kind that was instantly killed on the spot. Kadalu suddenly shuddered. Obediently, is this 7-year-old kid really only 7 years old? This strength is unavoidably, bebef, too strong. Advertisement. Simply not human. The outcome of a battle is often decided in an instant. As for Kadalu, the state at that time had a serious impact and interference on him. This allowed Layfon to kill Kadalu in an instant. But even so, the feat is quite a feat. Kadalu's strength, placed in the rear admiral, is also the leader of the rear admiral. But Layfon can still kill Kadalu in seconds. What is this concept? What a horrible meaning is this? Unimaginable. More importantly, Layfon is only 7 years old this year. At the age of 7, he killed a naval headquarters rear admiral in one shot. How horrifying and terrifying is this? If it is on the battlefield of war, Kadalu has been reduced to a cold corpse at this moment. That is, at the critical moment, Layfon has stopped. Otherwise, Yin Tianlu would have already written an article. My Marine Rear Admiral, isn't it a fake Marine Rear Admiral? Think of my famous name. Unexpectedly, it will be destroyed in the hands of a 7-year-old kid. I was unexpectedly killed by a 7-year-old kid. Just like Kalexi, he was instantly killed on the spot and had no power to fight back. But he's Commodore and I'm Rear Admiral. Kadaru felt it. Miserable situation before Corsi. The difference is that Corsi is a Commodore, while Kadalu is a Rear Admiral. The embarrassment is bigger, so compare. Kadalu could feel malicious eyes from all directions. As a Commodore, it becomes normal for Corsi to be instantly killed. But the problem is, Kadalu is the Rear Admiral of the dignified headquarters. With a padded Rear Admiral, Commodore was killed in seconds, isn't it very common sense? But Kadalu couldn't find a backup candidate. Unless even Vice Admiral was killed in seconds. Otherwise, as a Rear Admiral, he would be the biggest object of ridicule. Malicious. The ubiquitous malice made Kadalu shudder. Not good. Kadalu, who was seriously injured, couldn't help lowering his head, staring blankly at the ground lying on the ground, not daring to fight against the Marines around him. Rear Admiral is second. How does this embarrass the hundreds of thousands of official Marines in Marineford? Hundreds of thousands of Marines place high hopes on Kadalu. However, just in this case, Kadalu, he was actually stabbed in seconds on the spot. How does this make hundreds of thousands of Marines think? I never dreamed in my life. Someday, I actually will be given a second by a 7-year-old kid. Not lose. Instead, he was instantly killed. This is what makes Kadalu unacceptable. If it's just a loss, Kadalu thinks it's justifiable. However, being killed in seconds, these are two completely different concepts. It's over, it's over. My famous name, Kadalu I, will be ruined. Advertisement. Under the eyes of hundreds of thousands of people. Looking helplessly, I, Kadalu, Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, was unexpectedly killed by a 7-year-old kid. This makes me have no face to face those folks and elders. Kadalu's lips trembled, his face became pale and bloodless. In addition to suffering serious injuries to his body, his mind also suffered an unprecedented blow. This result, of course, he could not have expected anyway. For the production of this result, Kadalu could only think with great resentment in his heart. Young people don't talk about wood. Mada, you are not polite to us middle-aged and elderly people. At least, it's good to save some face for us. This is all right, we will be instantly killed immediately. How does this make these Marineford colleagues think of themselves? This moment, Kadalu can already imagine how cruelly he will be treated in Marineford in the future. The outlook is dark. Kadalu wailed in his heart and could only lie on the ground and pretend to be dead. It's not that he doesn't want to get up, it's that he can't get up. What kind of posture does this make him face the current situation? He thought about it, but couldn't think of a suitable solution. Had no choice but to play dead. At the same time. Around. Silence. The original bursts of cheers and cheers resounded through the sky. But all these voices disappeared at this moment. Dead silence. In the dead environment, one can even hear the melodious and crisp sound of the breeze blowing the leaves and the leaves beating each other. Most of Marineford are also caught in the strange and quiet atmosphere at the moment. No one dared to open their mouths without authorization, breaking the weird and silent atmosphere that only belongs to this moment. Grunt. The sound of people rolling their throats and swallowing their saliva was particularly ear-piercing. Hundreds of thousands of official Marines are watching the scene in front of them in a daze. Their minds are still lingering on the sudden change in the battle just now. Shock, panic, horrified, many emotions poured into their hearts in an instant, sweeping the hearts of all of them. Pairs of dilated pupils stared fixedly at the training ground. I see. The two figures appeared particularly prominent in their eyes. A young man with a blade in his hand, standing in the middle of the training ground, motionless, covered in ensign marine uniform, dancing with the breeze, spotless. It seemed extraordinarily detached. And another one. Then he flew upside down hundreds of meters away, lying on the ground dying. The ground rubbed against the body along this road has rubbed out a lot of bloodline infested on the sand and gravel, and along this road, you can see a very obvious blood path. Look again. The dying and embarrassed figure lying on the ground, as well as the Justice, coat in the white Marine Rear Admiral uniform on the other side, apart from being stained by dust, the ground has also become dilapidated. The dilapidated Rear Admiral Marine uniform was still stained with a lot of blood, and the bloodline was soaked in the clothes, making this dying figure look particularly embarrassed and miserable. The two figures, however, presented completely different postures, with a strong sense of contrast, which brought a huge visual impact to everyone present. A young one. A prime of life. One is Marine Ensign. One is Marine Rear Admiral. But the situation of the two is completely opposite. The Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, who was in his prime, was unexpectedly killed by a young Marine Ensign, or a young boy who had just been promoted to a Marine Ensign, just a face-to-face, and a knife on the spot. How can that be? What did I see? This is the common aspiration of hundreds of thousands of official Marines present. Just now, what happened? Advertisement Chapter 192. Only 7 years old, but his strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral. Open black lens bracket 4/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. And what did they see just now? Hundreds of thousands of formal Marines, their foreheads are full of emotions of panic and shock, their eyes are wide and round, like donkey eyes, staring at the training ground. Can be seen very clearly. Two completely different figures present a sharp visual contrast. The trend and development of the war situation have seriously exceeded their previous expectations. Same. It also went smoothly, overturning the cognition of everyone present. The worldview shattered on the spot. Be seconded. Kodalu Rear Admiral, unexpectedly, was instantly killed on the spot. Is this hallucination? Grunt. One person swallowed his saliva, and in the crowd, a weak voice came out. The weird and silent atmosphere was directly broken. Some people suspect that they have hallucinations. But when he rubbed his eyes, he still saw the same scene when he opened it again. They rejected it. The possibility of hallucinations. Illusion. Do not. This is not an illusion, everything we saw just now happened for real. Many people were shocked. But, this is too unbelievable. It's impossible. Kodalu Rear Admiral, that is the leader of the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, the Marine Rear Admiral with the highest strength. How could such a powerful existence be defeated? What's more, he was killed in seconds. A group of people expressed difficulty in accepting this result. This is too spooky. Marine Rear Admiral, for them, is already a very terrifying combat power. But when they saw with their own eyes that a Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, a powerhouse of this level, was defeated, they would naturally be shocked by it. Also, this Rear Admiral powerhouse was killed on the spot. How can that be? This is Rear Admiral, the top powerhouse under Vice Admiral. The mainstay of Naval Headquarters, the absolute elite powerhouse. However, it is a strong man of this level, but he is seconded. All of this has overturned people's perception of Rear Admiral. Isn't Rear Admiral fierce? Why is it so simple to be seconded? This is so unscientific. It's not a Commodore, it's a Rear Admiral. It doesn't matter if the Commodore is seconded. How can a strong Rear Admiral be defeated by an instant kill? It doesn't matter if you lose, but you are defeated by someone with an instant kill attitude. Even more terrifying is the last point. The one who killed Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral in seconds was a child who was only 7 years old. Is it possible? This is totally impossible. A 7-year-old kid actually beat a Rear Admiral in the headquarters. Rather than beat. Is it a spike? This is seriously contrary to common sense. Kodalu Rear Admiral, an existence as strong as him, was unexpectedly defeated. My god, it's unbelievable. Kodalu Rear Admiral, whom we had high hopes for, was killed and defeated. This is very wrong. No matter how strong this 7-year-old kid is, there's no reason why he should be so strong. Could it be that he really started practicing cultivation from the womb? Everyone was dumbfounded. Their thinking became a mess. They never dared to imagine the unimaginable Far East event happening before their eyes at this moment. A kid who was only 7 years old killed a Rear Admiral in one shot. What is this concept? And this Rear Admiral is also a veteran Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Kodalu has served as Rear Admiral for no less than 5 years. He is also very proficient in controlling the two-color hockey. Advertisement. But such a powerful Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral was instantly killed by a 7-year-old child just by meeting him. Who could have predicted this? Nobody. Even Pokato, Kebi, and Beru Meber, who are familiar with Layfon's strength, couldn't imagine it at all before. This battle will end with an instant kill. Can you believe it? A kid who is only 7 years old unexpectedly surpassed Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Moreover, Kodalu Rear Admiral is the most powerful Rear Admiral. It must be fake, right? Kodalu Rear Admiral is so strong, how could he be instantly killed? I have high hopes that Kodalu Rear Admiral can restore the dignity of our Marineford Marine. But how could he be taken advantage of? A lot of Marines are going crazy. They put high hopes on Kodalu, thinking that Kodalu's Rear Admiral strength should be able to easily win the opposite Layfon, who is only 7 years old. After all, things are completely opposite to what they imagined. Kodalu, the devil, has been caught in seconds. There is no way to fight back. Was instantly killed on the spot. This result subverted their worldview on the spot. I thought that being as strong as Kodalu Rear Admiral would definitely be able to restore the dignity lost by most of us Marineford Marine. The dignity lost by being crushed by a 7-year-old kid. But I never expected it. Our half of Marineford's dignity is being trampled on the ground by this 7-year-old kid at this moment, completely tearing our self-esteem apart. Self-esteem. Do they still have self-esteem? Even Kadalu was caught in seconds. Could it be? Want Vice Admiral to do it? This is obviously impossible. Vice Admiral was limited in his ability to shoot. Under Vice Admiral, the strongest is naturally Rear Admiral. But a Rear Admiral was witnessed by them, the scene where the opponent was instantly killed on the spot. This made their minds go blank suddenly, and they could no longer think of how to deal with the current situation. Rear Admiral can't stop it. Even being killed in seconds. Who else can they make a shot? This brat. Pokuto's lips trembled, feeling lingering fear. Really? At the beginning, it was a very correct behavior not to jump to conclusions. What happened to this brat cannot be judged by common sense at all. I am taught again. Fortunately, I did not jump to conclusions. Otherwise, at this moment, wouldn't I have to suffer the fate of being slapped in the face again? Pokato was in a state of shock, and it was difficult to calm down. He was optimistic about Kadalu at first, but he didn't expect that when he turned his head, Kadalu was instantly killed with a knife. This made Pokato's cognitive view completely subverted. Layfon, stronger than Bokuto expected. Anything that happens to Layfon, the monster, can no longer be judged and concluded at will. This monster will not be easily seen by anyone. This is the experience Pokato finally summed up after being slapped in the face so many times. It can be said that, experienced, for these horrifying worldly things that happen to Layfon, Pokato has already made some psychological preparations. In other words, to sum it up in simpler terms, Pokato, those who were shocked were already numb. Colonel Pokato, Mr. Layfon, he won. It was only then that Kebi recovered from his bewildered state. I saw. Pokato took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the shocking emotional waves in his heart. Second kill. This is an instant kill. Kebi couldn't help blurting out, his voice was sharp and piercing. It can be seen from this. Rao Kebi was shocked severely. Asking for flowers. Rear Admiral Strong, Wide Saint. This made Kebi's view of the Rear Admiral powerhouse undergo an earth-shaking change. Advertisement. Rear Admiral, so weak. Do not, wrong. Kebi shook his head quickly, shaking off all the absurd thoughts in his head. You can't be affected by what's happening in front of you. Individual examples are always just examples and cannot be generalized to everyone. Only Layfon can do this most special case. Not that Rear Admiral is too weak. But Layfon is too strong. Combined with the interference of many factors, Rear Admiral showed the situation of being killed in seconds. If you really think that the strong Rear Admiral is weak, then you are totally wrong. Rear Admiral is not weak. On the contrary, Rear Admiral is very strong. It's helpless. Mr. Layfon, stronger, superior to the General Rear Admiral, the strength is even infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral. Kebi was stunned by his guess. Strength, infinitely close to Vice Admiral. Is it possible? Layfon is only 7 years old. How many days have passed? Layfon 3 days ago was only the powerful class of Commodore. But 3 days later, the strength is infinitely close to Rear Admiral. This is not right. Kirby was completely dumbfounded. He was stunned and stiff in place, many thoughts in his mind surged crazily, and his mood was set off by huge waves like a storm, which couldn't be calmed down wave after wave. Amazing. In 3 days, from Commodore strength, but across to the strength of the Rear Admiral level. Still infinitely close to the Vice Admiral level. If it weren't for his strength being infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral, how could he kill the seasoned Rear Admiral of Kadalu in one shot? Colonel Pokato, you say. Mr. Layfon's strength, is he already close to the level of Vice Admiral? Kebi turned his head and asked with a horrified expression on his face. What? Beru Meber's shocking emotions never cooled down, and he was shocked by Kebi's remarks. What the hell? Strength, infinitely close to Vice Admiral. Mr. Layfon. But Mr. Layfon is only 7 years old. Has the strength reached this level? This is impossible and unrealistic, right? What you said is exactly what I dug. Pokato opened his mouth, his throat was dry. If the strength is not close to Vice Admiral, how can Kadalu be killed in seconds? Although what Kebi said was indeed very scary. But this is also the only answer Pokato can think of that can explain Layfon's instant kill of Kadalu. 7-year-old Rear Admiral. 7 years old, his strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral's Rear Admiral. Grunt. Pokato thought a lot, his throat rolled, and he swallowed. Even Colonel Pokato, do you think so? Kirby looked even more shocked. Also, the rest of Vice Admiral, who was an experienced veteran, was also surprised by the development and trend of this battle, and his expression was bewildered. Kadalu was instantly killed. The flying squirrel was stunned. Backed by a 7-year-old kid, the knife will kill you in seconds. I am not wrong, right? Ghost Spider, Huo Shaoshan, etc. Vice Admiral was stunned. Doesn't that mean this brat has a Rear Admiral level of strength that is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral? A group of Vice Admirals moved their eyes and looked at them with awe-inspiring expressions. The young figure in the center of the training ground, wearing an ensign marine uniform, was holding a blade in his hand, a spotless young figure all over his body. At only 7 years old, his strength is already infinitely close to the Vice Admiral class. Obediently. True or false? Mr. Advertisement Chapter 193 One person swiped half of Marineford. Open black lens bracket 5/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. This is too scary. 7 years old, strength is infinitely close to Rear Admiral. This is more exaggerated and outrageous than what the flying squirrels had predicted before. They originally thought that Layfon was at most the strength of an ordinary rear admiral. But it is unpredictable after all. Layfon, who is only 7 years old, is so powerful that he is infinitely close to the vice admiral. What is this concept? From rear admiral to vice admiral, just one step away. If this step is really crossed, doesn't that mean 7-year-old Naval Headquarters vice admiral? Oh my god. The flying squirrel was stunned by his own thoughts. This unscientific, very unscientific, 7-year-old vice admiral. How is this possible? Do you really think that the threshold for Naval Headquarters vice admiral is so low? Now even a 7-year-old kid is about to reach the same level of strength as them. This is very wrong. The world view of the flying squirrel is facing the fate of collapse. Including Ghost Spider, Huo Shaoshan and other vice admiral beside them, their mentality directly collapsed. What the hell? 7 years old vice admiral? This is seriously beyond their acceptable range. Their psychological endurance has been completely subverted. If this kid's strength is really infinitely close to that of vice admiral, then it can explain the experience of Kadalu being instantly killed by this kid. Besides, 810, there is no second possibility. All vice admiral knows. Kadalu's strength is also considered to be the best in rear admiral. But Kadalu is so powerful, it is inevitable that he will be instantly killed. It can be imagined from this. How powerful is Layfon? Infinitely close to vice admiral. This is the evaluation of Layfon's strength by a group of veteran vice admirals. If the strength is not infinitely close to that of vice admiral, it is impossible to kill Kadalu in seconds, and all the vice admirals present are basically sure of this in their hearts. 7 years old, the strength is so strong. When he is 8 years old, how many districts? 7-year-old is infinitely close to vice admiral. 8-year-old, isn't he really going to step into the ranks of vice admiral? Right now, this kid is only one step away from vice admiral. This distance, whether it is long or not, is not short. If it's an ordinary person, I can judge. Even if you are only one step away from vice admiral, if you want to really step into the powerful class of vice admiral, it will take 3 to 5 years of gestation and precipitation. Only Layfon, a 7-year-old kid, cannot be regarded with common sense. It is even more impossible to use ordinary people's eyes to judge the growth rate of this terrifying monster. Only this little ghost, I can't see through it all, he seems to be in a fog. The more I want to see clearly, the more I can't see clearly. A group of vice admirals have lingering fears. Over the years, as Naval Headquarters vice admiral, what big scenes haven't they seen? What life and death tribulations haven't they experienced? But it was the first time they had witnessed such an unimaginable experience happening in front of them. It's incredible. The 7-year-old kid's strength is infinitely close to that of the middle waist. If they hadn't witnessed this with their own eyes, of course they would never have imagined it in their dreams, and they definitely couldn't believe it. Around, hundreds of thousands of formal Marines looked at the training ground with shocked faces. Kadalu Rear Admiral, whom they had high hopes for, was instantly killed by Layfon. They were stunned. The dignified Rear Admiral will be instantly killed by someone. This, of course, overturns their worldview. Previously, they were full of hope for Kadalu, thinking that Kadalu could represent Rear Admiral and restore the dignity and self-esteem they lost in Marineford. People are not as good as God. They miscalculated Kadalu's strength, and underestimated the strength of Lay on the other side. Thereby, Kadalu was instantly killed without warning. Anyway, very suddenly, Kadalu, it was so sudden. Second kill. Advertisement. Hina's pink lips moved slightly, and her pretty face was full of shocking colors. All the Marines standing next to her, like her, also showed their inner horror, shock and many other emotions, which were difficult to hide. Even if someone can predict, Kadalu will lose. But absolutely no one predicted it. Kadalu will be instantly killed. This is truly astonishing. In front of hundreds of thousands of official Marines, Kadalu, who was Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, was defeated by a child who was only 7 years old without any power to fight back. And Kadalu is still the hope in the eyes of all the Marines present. They count on it. Can Kadaru redeem the dignity of the Corps C Commodore Quilt? Kadalu, who initiated the challenge on behalf of most of Marineford, ushered in a disastrous result and fate. Invisibly, their faces seemed to have been severely slapped. This slap is so loud. Hundreds of thousands of Marines have their faces swollen by Layfon. The development and trend of things have exceeded everyone's expectations. Even kilometers apart, the 4 bosses at the top of a tall building, Garp, Sengoku, Aokiji, and Kizaru, were all stunned. Even Kizaru, who had been mentally prepared and had a deep understanding of Layfon's strength, was stunned when he saw the scene where Kadalu was instantly killed. This is not right, based on his understanding of Kadalu's strength, coupled with his estimation of Layfon's strength. Kizaru can tell, Kadaru will lose. However, Kadalu wouldn't lose so badly, right? A face-to-face is a second away. This is obviously beyond Kizaru's previous predictions. Are your men so useless? Aokiji turned his head in horror, and looked at Kizaru beside him. Anyway, it's also Rear Admiral. There was no sign at all, and I was given a second by the Layfon kid. Are the current Rear Admirals so poor in strength and quality? Aokiji couldn't help but feel this suspicion. Back in the day, their Rear Admirals in that class, which one was not as strong as a monster, almost every one of them could be alone. Can be hairy. Now these Rear Admirals, but even a 7-year-old kid can't deal with them. Could it be? Over the years, Marineford is really out of favor. Rear Admiral level powerhouses are already this good. Useless. The corner of Kizaru's mouth twitches, glances at Aokiji unkindly. Kodalu is his subordinate, of course he knows Kodalu's level of strength. Even in Marineford, it is definitely the best. As a subordinate who has followed him for many years, Kodalu is also the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral who has experienced many big scenes. It stands to reason that it really shouldn't be killed in seconds. But the facts are so clearly displayed in their eyes at this moment, making it impossible for them to reverse Kodalu's attempt to be killed in seconds no matter what reason they have. I can only say, Layfon, this brat, may have had an unknown and terrifying improvement in the short period of time from yesterday to today. If it weren't for that, I can't think of a second explanation. Kizaru thought for a while, took a deep breath, and suppressed the shock in his heart. It was the only reasonable explanation he could think of. Otherwise, based on Kizaru's understanding of Layfon's strength, this brat shouldn't be against Kalu. So, the only explanation is to say, this brat, from last night to this morning, his strength has ushered in a huge improvement and leap forward. Kizaru gasped. The brat, it's really scary. Just one night. What the hell, the strength has reached such a terrifying level. If he hadn't known about Layfon's monster talent earlier, Kizaru wouldn't have believed the horrifying guess that was popping up in his mind. Now Layfon's strength can be said to be infinitely close to that of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, right? It's only one step away. Garp's eyes flickered, and he couldn't help laughing out loud as he was shocked. Advertisement. This is my Garp's grandson. A genius. True genius. See it. Who dares to doubt that the old man's grandson holds the role of Marine Ensign? This strength is infinitely close to the strength of Vice Admiral, what happened to be a mere Marine Ensign? Who dares to have an opinion? Ha ha ha. Garp couldn't help laughing. I said it a long time ago, the old man's grandson, Layfon, will definitely be up to today's challenge. He really did it. Beside, only then did Sengoku come to his senses, suppressing the shock in his heart a little bit. He looked at the training ground thousands of meters away, and his eyes were filled with amazement when he saw the two figures in diametrically opposite postures. It was the first time he saw Layfon. Same. It was also Sengoku's first real eyewitness. What kind of attitude should a genius have? Genius. Do not. Wrong. This horse is a terrible monster. A freak, an outlier. Sengoku tagged Layfon with that in mind. Do not know why. The words Garp said before, lingering in Sengoku's mind at this moment, made his memory more and more deep, and it was difficult to suppress. 10 years will be Admiral. Now he is only 7 years old, and his strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral. Admiral, can it be far? I suddenly feel that Garp's statement is still a bit too conservative. Perhaps. Within 5 years. Will it be Admiral? Sengoku was stunned by his own thoughts. Within 5 years. How old was this kid at that time? 13. Admiral of Headquarters under the age of 13. Crazy crazy. You must be crazy. Sengoku shook his head violently. Chang 4.0 was about to forcefully suppress these absurd thoughts in his head. You say, my grandson, does today's move count as? One person swiped almost half of Marineford. Garp turned his head and looked at the 3 Marine bosses behind him with shocked faces. His tone was a little weird. This. As for Layfon, the brat, he lost a Commodore and a Layfon. Just ask. The 3 Naval Headquarters bosses followed their eyes and looked at the young figure at the training ground thousands of meters away. The emotions in their eyes were complicated and indescribable. There were amazement and shock. Among so many Marines present, who else can take the initiative to challenge? A little devil who is only 7 years old. Not to mention. This level of terrifying strength is naturally equivalent to completely surpassing Marineford, almost 99% of official Marines. It is as strong as Rear Admiral, and it was beaten in seconds. The 3 Marine bosses were talking for a while. It's really like, who can take action to suppress this terrifying existence that can instantly kill Rear Admiral? Did you really single out half of Marineford for him? Half of Marineford was swiped by this 7-year-old kid alone. So here comes the problem. Vice Admiral is restricted and cannot be shot. The Commodore was taken by a second. This moment. This challenge has gathered hundreds of thousands of Marines. Advertisement Chapter 194 7-year-old Vice Admiral is the first person. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Marineford, as Naval Headquarters, accommodates hundreds of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of official Marines, and is a solemn and sacred place in the minds of countless Marines. There are strong ones here. There are many Commodore-level powerhouses. Rear Admiral powerhouses are innumerable, too numerous to count. According to outside rumors, the Admiral-level top existences who have never seen the end of Shenlong are all working in Marineford. A dozen or 20 Vice Admirals from the headquarters also guard Malindo. With such a luxurious lineup of Marineford, countless geniuses and monsters have been born. However, today, Naval Headquarters Marineford withstood an unprecedented shock. A child who was only 7 years old, alone, directly overturned almost half of Marineford, and swiped half of Marineford alone without being unstoppable. Similar examples are simply unprecedented. This is the first time. As powerful as Marineford, Marineford with so many powerful people is a sacred and inviolable place in the hearts of countless Marines. Unexpectedly, it was pierced in half by a child who was only 7 years old. Half of Marineford was trampled underfoot by this 7-year-old child. Amazing. None of the Marines dared to imagine the shocking worldly thing happening before their eyes at this moment. This challenge itself is limited to Vice Admiral's participation. Therefore, Rear Admiral, the strongest challenger. But now the problem is, the powerhouses at the Rear Admiral level have all been instantly killed by their strength. Just ask, who else, Rear Admiral, can come in and shake this 7-year-old monster 14? No Rear Admiral is willing to do this, early bird. Kadaru's strength is beyond doubt. Everyone is Rear Admiral, and they know each other well, and know the limits of their respective strengths. Now even Kadaru has been instantly killed. Naturally, they didn't even have the slightest chance of dealing with Layfon. Anyway, they don't think that with their strength, they can instantly kill Kadaru. But Layfon, just 7 years old, did it. This strength lies here, who thinks they can do it? No one dares to move. Half Marineford, is it really about to be trampled under by this brat? It's a disgrace. Out of our hundreds of thousands of Marines, none of us can stand up and suppress this brat. We can only watch helplessly, allowing this brat to trample on our dignity. Having said that, who else can come in and challenge? Corsi Commodore got knocked out, and now even Kadaru Rear Admiral is knocked out. Come to think of it, who else can get in? Vice Admiral, yes. Right now, the only ones in everyone's minds who are qualified to enter the arena but are sure to win are the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level powerhouses. But Vice Admiral, was limited admission qualifications. If Vice Admiral makes his move, the rules of this challenge will be broken. But without Vice Admiral, who can deal with this 7-year-old kid? Rear Admiral, the powerhouse of Rear Admiral was also defeated. Who is sure and can shake this monster? Not a single one. There were a lot of Marines present, and there were quite a few strong Naval Headquarters Rear Admirals among the crowd. But in the face of the current situation, they dare not act rashly. They didn't want to face the embarrassing experience of Kadaru being killed. Kadaru has been caught in seconds, and I am afraid that I will be no exception when I enter the challenge. That's what Rear Admiral had in mind. They don't think that they can kill Kadaru in seconds. By contrast, the strength of Layfon, who killed Kadaru in seconds, is obvious to all. Thinking of the huge Marineford. Now, surprisingly, he couldn't find another person who could try to challenge Layfon in front of him and who was sure of defeating Layfon. Ever since, the situation is so deadlocked. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Time goes by little by little. Advertisement. Hundreds of thousands of formal Marines watched with horror and awe at the young figure standing in the center of the training ground. No one dared to take the initiative to stand out from the crowd. A total of 2 challengers were killed in seconds, one after another. This challenge has ushered in a strange deadlock. The third challenger has never appeared. Let the atmosphere here become extraordinarily weird. Silence. The uproarious challenge has become a little deserted. The noisy environment has also become dead silent. Who can shake this monster but the mighty Vice Admiral? Similar thoughts arose in everyone's minds. They stared at the young figure. A majestic sense of oppression swept over the bodies of all of them, suppressing them heavily, making their hearts more and more stressed. This moment, in the bottom of their hearts, a very absurd idea also came into being, an idea that subverted and shattered their worldview. This little devil who was only 7 years old. Strength, perhaps already infinitely close to Vice Admiral. Be the top class in Rear Admiral. At only 7 years old, is his strength infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral. What a terrifying existence. The grandson of Vice Admiral Garp, he is so strong. Everyone's views and feelings towards Layfon are no longer contempt and dissatisfaction. Instead, their eyes were full of awe and amazement. Layfon is excellent. Excellence makes them feel only admiration and worship in their hearts. Certainly, at this moment, their mood is full of aggrieved and helpless. The main reason is that Marineford was singled out by Layfon, a 7-year-old kid. Singled out half of Marineford's feat, really let Layfon achieve it alone. This shows that, as Marineford Marine, their strength is very good. Such a big Marineford can't even stop a Luo kid. Isn't that why they are? Weakness is the original sin. They felt the humbleness of their own strength. Even a 7-year-old child can swipe almost half of Marineford by himself. But they can only watch helplessly, and they can't stop it if they want to stop it. Although I don't want to admit it, I have to admit it so far. This kid who is only 7 years old is Layfon, the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. His strength may already be called first person under Vice Admiral. A group of Marines looked serious. They were shocked, but they had no choice but to make such an evaluation. Layfon, who killed Kadaru Rear Admiral in seconds, can be called the first person under Vice Admiral. This is by no means an exaggeration. If he didn't have such a terrifying level of strength, how could Kadaru be instantly killed? Anyhow, the mighty Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral is quite terrifying in strength. But without exception, just like Corsi Commodore, who was killed in an instant, and didn't even have the ability to fight back at all. You can judge from here. Layfon's strength. Even if you look at the strength of the Rear Admiral, there is no Rear Admiral that can stop Layfon's progress. Thus, the title of the first person under Vice Admiral is well deserved. Oh my god, under Vice Admiral, number 1. What kind of terrifying strength is this? But he is only 7 years old. Mentioning this, everyone fell silent. Yes, this kid is only 7 years old this year. At the age of 7, the strength has reached the first person below Vice Admiral. Infinitely close to Vice Admiral's level of strength. Has there ever been such an example in the sea? No. There has never been an example of someone who is only 7 years old but whose strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral. For thousands of years, there has never been one. Advertisement. Today, hundreds of thousands of Marines have witnessed it with their own eyes. Such a terrifying genius who can be called a monster. Such a feat at the age of 7. What is this concept? It's totally conceivable, given time. Admiral, can this monster be far behind? Not far away. The first person under Vice Admiral is obviously only one step away from the threshold of Vice Admiral's power class. Step into the Vice Admiral with a little jolt. Thus that is. Ever, the youngest Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Under the age of 10, a terrifying existence whose strength has reached Vice Admiral's level. Everyone was shocked. They seemed to have seen that scene. The strength is already infinitely close to Vice Admiral, and the distance to break through the strength level of Vice Admiral is naturally not too far away. As for Admiral, it's also close. A 7-year-old can do it, raising his own strength to the feet of the first person under Vice Admiral 363. What terrifying talent does such a monster possess? They can't imagine. But it doesn't hinder them, they can be very sure. With Layfon's strength, it is definitely not a problem to attack Vice Admiral. 7-year-old Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Or 8-year-old Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Obediently, no matter which one it is, it's too amazing. Whether it is 7 years old, or 8 years old. Anyway, can be under the age of 10, Vice Admiral Headquarters. This feat is enough to subvert people's worldview, and it also refreshes the record of the youngest Vice Admiral set by Naval Headquarters over the years. If they hadn't seen what Layfon did today, they would never dare to imagine it. In this sea, there really is such a monster beyond imagination. By contrast, many Marines fell silent. They figured it out. What were they doing when they were 6 or 7 years old? I'm afraid I'm still wearing crotch pants. However, what did other people do when they were 6 or 7 years old? Soon to be the youngest Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral ever. The strong contrast made them feel ashamed and lowered their heads with low self-esteem. I'm trash. I'm an idiot. I don't deserve to live in this world. You say, how much time does it take for a 7-year-old or 8-year-old Vice Admiral to become the main admiral? When this question was born in people's minds, their mood became even more frightening. Think carefully. This question made them fall into deep thought. How much time will it take? Is 3 years enough? Is 5 years enough? 10 years? Even if it is 10 years. But how old are you? 17. Still 18. Just come of age. Countless thoughts poured into the minds of hundreds of thousands of Marines, making their thinking confused and their expressions full of astonishment. This is really amazing. Always feel, unconsciously. They're like, guess something amazing. Advertisement chapter 195. One person easily suppressed half of Marineford. Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Under the spotlight, center of the training ground. Layfon slowly put away the katana in his hand. Then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, the layer of black armed armor wrapped around the blade gradually began to restrain itself and fade away. Is there no one to challenge? Instantly, the blade in his hand turned into silver again, and as the golden sunlight fell from the sky, the sharp silver blade reflected dazzling light. Armament hockey, fully restrained. This berserk force slowly began to return to Layfon's body, and was withdrawn by him freely. There was a slight breeze. Layfon was wearing a Justice coat and a white Marine ensign uniform, spotless, with no visible scars on his body, not even the slightest sign of damage to the clothes. After going through 2 battles in succession, it didn't affect Layfon's state. He's still in prime form, undiminished by 2 fights. Those 2 fights just now. At best, it can only be regarded as a warm-up for Layfon. These 2 battles did not cost Layfon too much time in total. The entire fighting process took less than 3 minutes. Then, the fight is over. And Layfon only made 2 cuts from the beginning to the end. 2 battles, only 2 knives. The battle was declared over. There was Marine Commodore Corsi, who was killed by Layfon. Then there was Marine Rear Admiral Kodalu, who was also killed by Layfon. The situation of the 2 is exactly the same. Although the 2 of them are far apart in strength, in Layfon's hands, it doesn't matter how big the difference is in their strength. Anyway, they can't escape being killed by Layfon. These 2 battles broke out very quickly, and ended very quickly. It feels like, before the battle even started, it was already coming to an end. Be ruthless. The battle ended without warning. When the battle broke out and ended, there was no chance for everyone to react at all. Let hundreds of thousands of official Marines around, they are completely unable to respond. The moment you have to react, the battle is over. They were unexpected and caught off guard. Anyway. This is also a Commodore and a Rear Admiral. As the elite Marine in Marineford, when the 2 add up, 1-on-1, against a child who is only 7 years old, he can't even delay the match by 10 o'clock. This is incredible. The 2 battles totaled less than 3 minutes. In other words, less than 3 minutes, a Commodore and an elite Rear Admiral were defeated one after another. The combined effect of these 2 people is meaningless at all. The added effect is that, delayed Layfon by less than 3 minutes. That's it. Also Marine Commodore, return the Headquarters Rear Admiral. The boasted strength is so fierce. Feelings come to an end. Not even Layfon can stop it. This is indeed a little too much moisture. Rao is Layfon himself, who did not expect that the so-called Commodore and Rear Admiral are so good. This challenge seems a bit too easy. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little emotional. The only pity is that, whether it's Kalexi or Kadalu, neither of them can make themselves display their true limit strength. Naturally, Layfon is still unable to grasp the exact state of his own strength class. The general strength is clear, but helpless. These two guys are useless at all. As a result, Layfon didn't even have the chance to fully display his strength. Advertisement. 2 games, all seconds. How does this give Layfon an accurate measure of its own strength? I originally thought that the mighty Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral would not be too weak. But the fact, after all, still made me a little disappointed. This Rear Admiral is ridiculously weak. One knife. I tried my best for this strike. But he is Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, and he can't even block my strike. With this strength, what is Marine Rear Admiral doing? Layfon couldn't help complaining in his heart. He really didn't expect that the dignified Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, in the end, couldn't even stop him with a single blow. Marine Rear Admiral, that's it. This strength is also worthy of being called Marine's elite high-end combat power. If this gets out, I'm afraid people will laugh it off. I'm not serious yet. As a result, 1 or 2 fell down. They were all instantly killed by me. At any rate, you can use it a little bit. Let me measure my strength before falling down. Now, I guess no one will take the initiative to stand up and challenge. Layfon's eyes twinkled and he looked around. Wherever their eyes passed, everyone bowed their heads and retreated, not daring to look at Layfon. Layfon at the moment is quite high-spirited. But I have to say, as Layfon killed a Commodore and a Rear Admiral in seconds one after another, this feat really shocked the hundreds of thousands of official Marines present. Let them have a deep understanding of Layfon's strength. Same. It also allowed them to overthrow the previous label on Layfon, a 7-year-old kid. Previously, they can't understand. How strong can a 7-year-old be? Why Naval Headquarters Ensign? This moment, after witnessing Layfon defeating Commodore and Rear Admiral one after another, all the questions that plagued their minds were finally solved and they suddenly became enlightened. They finally understood why. Strength. At only 7 years old, Layfon possesses terrifying strength, which is the root of everything. It is also the key to making Layfon become Naval Headquarters Ensign. The strength of a Commodore in seconds, isn't it enough to be a mere ensign? If that's not enough, so, seconds the strength of a Rear Admiral, so what? With this strength, he should be able to assume the status of a small ensign, right? Nature. After seeing the strength of Layfon, people dare not question the identity of Layfon Ensign anymore. Instead, although they don't want to admit it, they have to say it. With Layfon's strength, it's really a bit of a talent to serve as ensign. At least the colonel, and even the Commodore make sense. As strong as Rear Admiral, they were instantly killed by Layfon. This strength to serve as a small ensign. Isn't this a serious waste of talent? I heard you asking before. How strong can a 7-year-old be? Now, I think, you should all see. A 7-year-old child can be so powerful that he can instantly kill Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Even, the strength can infinitely approach the level of Vice Admiral in the headquarters. This is what we thought before, a 7-year-old child like a weak chicken. But the reality is completely different from what we imagined. Age does not necessarily represent the level of strength. Hundreds of thousands of Marines looked at the young figure of Layfon with lingering fear. Of course they dare not underestimate Layfon any longer. What Layfon did was a horror most of them could never imagine in their lifetimes. Not to mention killing Rear Admiral in seconds. Killing Commodore in seconds, in their view, this feat is enough to become a goal that they need to pursue urgently in their entire lives. An unattainable distant goal, Commodore powerhouses, in the eyes of most of their Marines, are their lifelong goals. But Layfon, who is only 7 years old, missed their lifelong goal in seconds. Advertisement. From now on, those who are above the age of 5, don't call me anymore. Do not. Anyone above the age of 3, don't call me, I don't want to die. As for the 7-year-old, look out for yourself. Everyone was deeply moved by the strength displayed by Layfon. Time flies. Another 2 minutes passed. The atmosphere here is still very strange. Among the crowd, no third challenger dared to stand up. The stalemate has continued and has never been broken. After the Commodore and Rear Admiral were defeated one after another. The terrifying strength of Layfon seems to have formed a huge deterrent to all the Marines present. And lead to, no Marine present dared to come forward again. Even though they were hidden in the crowd, that group of powerful Naval Headquarters Rear Admirals didn't dare to take the initiative to stand up and challenge rashly, but chose to keep silent. FFLX. No one wants to continue the challenge. With a look of anticipation, Layfon glanced at the Marines gathered from all directions, with a smile on his face, and a sharp katana in his right hand. Seemingly harmless. But actually, everyone present felt it deeply. It is this seemingly harmless 7-year-old child who is a monster with terrifying strength. With Layfon's voice just fell. The atmosphere here is even more silent. Dead silence. No sound, even if Layfon took the initiative to ask. But still no response. The crowd is still the same. No one took the initiative to stand out from the crowd. This also means that no one will challenge Layfon anymore. Is there still no one standing up? Look away, Layfon thought. This was something he hadn't expected. After brewing for 3 days, this battle was full of excitement. Actually, it came to an end like this. But there are only 2 challengers in total. Is this too little? What about the other challengers? Where did they all go? Only 2 people dare to challenge. The third person, don't you dare to make another move. Could it be that my first 2 shots were too ruthless? Nuos caused a certain psychological shadow on these guys, making them afraid to act rashly again. It seems that I killed a Commodore and a Rear Admiral in seconds one after another, which really caused a huge psychological burden and pressure on them. Mistake. I really didn't think about it that much. The main thing is that I didn't expect these guys from Marineford to be so cowardly. I was a little more serious and beat 2 challengers in seconds. As a result, the third challenger stopped. It made these guys who were just about to move put away their thoughts of trying to challenge me. Layfon looked helpless. If I knew this earlier, I shouldn't have shown so much strength. This is just great. Not even a challenger is known. Hundreds of thousands of official Marines were present, but they couldn't find a third challenger. Before the challenge even started, Layfon heard that these guys were making noise. It seems that everyone has to challenge themselves. But after the real challenge begins, after a total of 2 battles, these guys seem to have suddenly wilted one by one, and they were no longer as energetic as before. Does this count as suppressing half of Marineford by one man? This challenge should come to an end here, right? Layfon looked at the group of formal Marines who were looking around, and thought in his heart. If the third challenger did not stand up for a long time, the challenge that had been raging for 3 days in Marineford would naturally come to an end. Advertisement Chapter 196 I report that someone wants to give away someone's head on purpose. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. The development of this challenge has indeed exceeded Layfon's own expectations. Previously, he himself didn't expect that this challenge, which had been brewing for 3 full days, caused waves in Marineford and made a lot of noise. Can be final. It's coming to an end so soon. Layfon itself is well prepared and ready to continue fighting today. Today's challenge is a protracted battle in Layfon's view. But still unpredictable. After defeating a Commodore and a Rear Admiral in seconds, this protracted battle seemed to turn into a short-term one. The third challenger dared not get out of the crowd for a long time. This will also lead to the end of this challenge in advance. Don't say Layfon can't think of it. All the Marines present were unexpected. When perceived, no third challenger dared stand out from the crowd. Hundreds of thousands of official Marines also fell silent. Their expressions were full of shame and embarrassment. They lowered their heads, not daring to look at the young figure standing in the center of the training ground. For them, this challenge is simply slapping them in the face. They were the loudest ones. Those who dare not challenge now are also them. Mainly they didn't expect it either. Commodore and Rear Admiral were killed by 7-year-old Fu one after another. These 2 battles are enough to stop 99% of Marines. Bay, Vice Admiral admission. If not, they don't think anyone else can deal with Layfon in front of them. The odds are slim. Too low. Rear Admiral has been killed in seconds. Which other Rear Admiral can enter the arena to challenge? Are you sure this isn't sending people away? 7-year-old. Was Vice Admiral the first person? A pair of 707 pairs of awe-filled eyes gathered on Layfon. This title is well deserved. At this moment, the feat of making all Rear Admirals dare not act rashly can show Layfon's identity as the number 1 person under Vice Admiral. The atmosphere is weird. Another 2 minutes passed. As always, as Layfon expected. Also no one stepped out of the crowd. The third challenger seems to have disappeared. The second challenger is already the final limit. So, I just killed 2 people in seconds. Can I declare the victory of this challenge? It hasn't been half an hour since the challenge erupted. However, but Layfon seems to be facing the result of overall victory. Without a challenger taking the initiative to stand up, Layfon can naturally declare the victory of today's challenge, because they won all. Both battles ended with instant kills. This record announced that Layfon has achieved the victory of the challenge with the most eye-catching gesture. Same. It was also this record that stopped many Rear Admirals present and did not dare to act rashly. Rear Admiral was instantly killed. They don't think they can really shake the Layfon in front of them. Perhaps it is possible to defeat Layfon by using crowd tactics to wear down Layfon's physical strength. But who goes first? This is a problem. No one wants to be the first to be defeated by Fu Feng's spike. In this way, the plan of the human sea tactics will be self-defeating. No one is willing to take the initiative to be the first object to consume Layfon's physical strength, and they all want to wait until the end to collect the fruits of victory. With this prerequisite factor, it is absolutely impossible for this plan to be implemented. If no one challenges. Advertisement. Does that mean that I will win this challenge early? Holding a samurai sword, Layfon looked at the Marines in all directions, and his voice came out of his mouth loudly. The sound is loud and resounds in all directions. The loud voice spread far and wide, and smoothly reached the ears of hundreds of thousands of official Marines. Hearing these words, hundreds of thousands of Marines still did not make any changes. Instead, they seemed to acquiesce to what Layfon said just now. Among the hundreds of thousands of Marines present, it is natural that they are not generally strong at the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral level. However, at this moment, they dare not stand up easily. The scene of Katalu being instantly killed still made their memory especially deep and they could not forget it. Stand up now. They don't want to suffer the fate of being killed in seconds. I don't even want to be killed by a 7-year-old little spike. This kind of pain and suffering can be left to Katalu alone. They don't want to bear the prestige of the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, and thus suffer the fate of a 7-year-old kid killing him instantly. For them, it was like a nightmare. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes later. Layfon's words had been conveyed for 3 minutes, but the crowd was as quiet as ever, with no movement, and no third challenger appeared. What a disappointment. I thought that today would allow me to find a target to measure the exact level of my own strength. But after 2 consecutive challengers were killed by me in seconds. Did not expect. These guys are all loose. Are all the Marines in Marineford so gutless? Layfon couldn't help but complain. We are just a 7-year-old child. There are at least hundreds of thousands of official Marine. Even a 7-year-old child like himself dare not initiate a challenge. This is so humble. Is this still Marineford, a sacred and inviolable holy place in Marine's mind? But I can't find anyone who dares to challenge me. If the Marines around him knew what was going on in Layfon's mind, they would probably refute it. 7-year-old. Emotion. Do you really think of yourself as a 7-year-old child? No way, no way. 7-year-old child, are you so scary? You are a monster. Age, in your body will not become any of your flaws. The terrifying combat power of the first person under the 7-year-old Vice Admiral. Who dares to underestimate this title? Bebef, just ask. Has anyone ever seen an example where, at the young age of 7, his strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral? No, never before. There has never been a similar example. And right now, the Layfon they see, is the only one. And the other party, actually really thinks that he is a 7-year-old child. God, 7-year-old child, do you have such terrifying strength? It's not scientific. I will count to 3, and if there are no more challengers, then I will announce that this challenge is over. Layfon held up 3 fingers, facing the crowd. The voice fell harshly and resonantly. 3 equals, quote, exclamation mark quote. I'm done counting. No third challenger dared to stand up. Advertisement. As Layfon expected, no Rear Admiral dared to challenge himself. In the past few minutes, there was no third challenger, which is enough to explain the situation. Only now, Fuma confirmed the situation more accurately. Then I announce, today's challenge ends here. I won. This result, everyone here must have no opinion. Layfon announced the result with a smile. Who dares to have an opinion? Come out and practice. Rear Admiral is second. Who should dare to have an opinion on the results of today's challenge? After the result was announced, Layfon became more emotional. Really did not expect. This challenge, which has been brewing for 3 days, will end in this way. Surrounding this incident, there was a commotion for 3 full days. In the past 3 days, Marineford has not been able to rest for a single day. But it was this chaotic challenge. After 2 people were killed in seconds one after another, it came to an end strangely. The duration of the entire battlefield is less than half an hour. As for when the real fight broke out, that's not even 3 minutes. In less than 3 minutes, Layfon ended 2 fights. That is, since the start of this challenge, even 1 hour has not yet come. Then, just weirdly, it was declared over by Layfon. The essential. No one dared to stand up and refute. The challenge ended too quickly. Rao and Layfon feel a little foggy. The development and end of this challenge. So far, it is still unimaginable for the hundreds of thousands of Marines present. Far beyond their expectations. The challenge was brewing for 3 days. During these 3 days, how much noise has Marineford been making? This news is circulating almost everywhere in the streets and alleys. And everyone is waiting for this challenge 3 days later. It can be seen from this. What a sense of anticipation people have for this challenge. But when the challenge started, half an hour hadn't passed yet, and a Commodore and Rear Admiral were instantly killed one after another. This challenge has entered the final stage strangely. There will be no third challenger. The development of this matter is beyond everyone's expectations. Hundreds of thousands of people have been looking forward to it for 3 full days. At last, just announce it's over. They felt that things were a little weird, but they couldn't bring them up. It seemed that thousands of reasons came to their lips, but they didn't dare to say them out of their mouths. Is this over? A Marine's lips trembled, and a weak questioning voice came from the crowd. Otherwise, without a challenger, it is natural to announce that it has ended early. Could it be, do you want to go up and challenge? Mr. Layfon, this is a terrifying existence that can instantly kill Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Do you think that you can really shake this terrifying existence if you go up to challenge it? If you want to do this, I advise you, don't die. The words of the people were merciless. Even some Marines, when they saw their colleagues beside them, seemed to be showing some eager thoughts on their faces. I report, someone wants to give away the head on purpose. Really, how is this different from sending someone's head? The power level gap is too big. Those who are as strong as the Rear Admiral level will be killed. One can imagine. Marines below the Rear Admiral level make a shot, which is no different from sending them to death. Advertisement Chapter 197. If you are not careful, your sword skills will improve a little. Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Is it over? Garp was a little confused. Wrong. This is very wrong. He has been brewing for 3 full days for this challenge, acting as a behind-the-scenes pusher, which contributed to the evolution into today's highly anticipated atmosphere. Can be hairy. Did it end so weirdly? This is completely different from the result he expected. He also thought that this challenge could give Layfon a proper and strong sense of oppression. So that Layfon can continue to practice hard and stimulate his own human potential. But, Garp never dreamed that this challenge, within half an hour of the beginning, directly ushered in the end of the strange curtain. This is not scientific. Garp's thinking became a mess. The insta-killing of Commodore and Rear Admiral one after another has made the rest of the people who are about to make a move all suppress their inner thoughts and dare not act rashly. This brat, this move is too wonderful. Sengoku's eyes flickered, and he couldn't help opening his mouth full of admiration. Use the most severe means to create the strongest deterrence and deterrence to everyone present. Thus, in the shortest time, end this noisy challenge. This little brat has an extraordinary mind, and his thinking is very clear. It made me wonder, is he really only 7 years old? Does a 7-year-old kid have such a meticulous mind? With Sengoku dissected, beside, Kizaru and Aokiji suddenly realized. Such is the feeling. The two of them looked at Layfon, which was thousands of meters away, and looked at the scene where hundreds of thousands of marine elites did not dare to act rashly, and their mood became a little sighed. The tricks of this little devil are really superb. They almost couldn't find it. If Sengoku hadn't mentioned it, they haven't noticed this key point yet. Suppress a Commodore and a Rear Admiral with the fiercest posture. This can create an unprecedented sense of oppression for everyone. In this way, who else would dare to challenge? Naturally, without any challenger, this brat will easily win the final victory. Let this challenge come to an end. Aokiji was full of wonder. Knew it. These young people nowadays have one set of show routines after another, which is hard to guard against. Our Marshal Sengoku had a great idea. Otherwise, I would have been deceived by this brat. Following today's challenge, if nothing else happens, this brat has really made a name for himself in Marineford. It can be said that. Blockbuster. Sengoku continued on. As Sengoku said, with the end of today's challenge, it can be basically judged that the name of Layfon will once again resound throughout Marineford, deafening. Different from the previous ones. In the previous Layfon, people realized that their strength and identity did not match, which caused the anger and dissatisfaction of most Marines. But at the moment, Layfon showed a strong side, suppressing all dissatisfaction with absolute strength. And killed a Commodore and a Rear Admiral in seconds. Such a move is enough to prove Layfon's own strength. With this level of strength, as a small naval headquarters ensign, it's easy to grasp, don't take it too easy. Who dares to question? Not only that, no one will question it. Instead, most people may think that the status of ensign is too inferior to Layfon. The strength is infinitely close to Vice Admiral, as the first person under Vice Admiral, to serve as a small ensign. Isn't this a waste of talent? Garp, your plan has come to fruition. Sengoku stared back at Garp. Ha ha ha. Garp was taken aback for a moment, and then burst out laughing. Speaking of which, I didn't know that this brat actually hid such a strong strength. Sure enough, some people have to force him to let him arouse his limit potential. From quasi-accurate to Rear Admiral, and even the strength is infinitely close to Vice Admiral, as the first person under Vice Admiral. This terrifying speed of strength improvement is simply unheard of. All this, Garp attributed the credit to himself. If it wasn't for the old man to force this brat. Advertisement. How could this brat grow so quickly in strength? That's right. In this, half of the credit of the old man. Aside, seeing Garp's ecstatic expression, Sengoku couldn't help but roll his eyes. As an old comrade in arms for many years, how could he not know what Garp was thinking? Forget it, Garp, it's none of your business. It's purely just. The talent of your grandson is really terrifying. A talent that can be called a monster. If this is not the case, if you change another person, no matter how hard you force it, it is impossible to force a person into such a monster. Bottom line, still because of talent. The talent of your grandson is so extraordinary. Or rather, look at the sea, this is the only example. Undeniable, human potential is relentless and endless. But similar to the persecution of Garp, there is no second example of the strength from Commodore to Rear Admiral within 3 days, except for Layfon. So, Garp's persecution. From Sengoku's point of view, this is a joke. If only it were that easy to force someone from Commodore to Rear Admiral level. In this sea, there are so many Rear Admiral level powerhouses. Based on the above, Sengoku can definitely draw a conclusion. Layfon can reach the strength level of today's number 1 player under Vice Admiral, which has nothing to do with Garp. Not everyone can be forced to such an unbelievable situation. Only Layfon is different. As for the others, even with a few dogs chasing him, they might not be able to force him to 1/10 of Layfon's level. Why does old Garp have such a monstrous grandson? It's not fair. Sengoku was filled with resentment. Let's go, it's time for us to enter and end this challenge. Garp smiled confidently. A group of 4 people directly connected to the training ground ahead. With the arrival of the 4 big bosses, the atmosphere here has become more and more eerie and silent. It's all gone, it's all gone. It's not that the old man doesn't give you the chance to challenge, but you're useless. Garp swaggered and stepped towards Layfon's side. Facing the attention of hundreds of thousands of official Marines, he didn't care about the face of these people at all, instead he directly said the words he wanted to say in his heart. Immediately, a group of Marines looked ashamed and ashamed. Chance. The opportunity has been given to them. Pity. They are useless. They were given the chance to challenge a 7-year-old, but they dared not challenge again. With absolutely overwhelming strength, Layfon has created a very strong deterrent to them. Okay, it's all gone. Sengoku gave the order. The hundreds of thousands of formal Marines gathered here left one after another with shock in their hearts, and left the training ground seemingly in a state of dismay. When they left, they were full of emotions of shock and horror. There is no other reason. The scenes they witnessed today really overturned their inner cognition and worldview. They never think so. A child who is only 7 years old can be so powerful. Asking for flowers. All this shattered their worldview. Several of you, send the two of them to the medical room. Sengoku glanced not far away, the two dying figures lying there, and their figures seemed to be in a panic. After looking away, he gave instructions to the two Marines beside him. These two guys. This time it really fell. Advertisement. Was killed in seconds by a 7-year-old kid. Miserable batch. Sengoku was ashamed to look at it. Commodore and Rear Admiral, how powerful were they in the past? But when it came to these two people, they suffered the fate of being instantly killed. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. A few Marines hurried towards the place where Kalexi and Kodalu were lying. This moved Kalexi and Kodalu so much that they almost burst into tears. Finally, someone remembered them. Otherwise, they are really afraid, and everyone will throw them here and let them fend for themselves. Then, Kalexi and Kodalu were sent to the medical room for treatment. But presumably with their physiques, within half a month, their injuries would be enough to recover. Layfon didn't really hurt their roots. It looked like a heavy injury, but half a month was enough for them to recover. Wait for the crowd to dissipate. Hundreds of thousands of Marines all went back to their homes. Here, it returned to the original quiet environment. All right, now you can talk about it. Your strength suddenly skyrocketed, right? Sengoku looked at Layfon strangely. Aokiji and Kizaru also looked at Layfon. Kizaru then echoed. Your swordsmanship, I remember that before you left yesterday, you haven't reached this level yet, right? But today, why is Maororon so terrifying? Facing the questions of these three big guys, Layfon replied truthfully. When I returned home last night, I felt something for a while. I just practiced like this, and then I accidentally. Sword skills have improved a little. It really surprised me. The words fell. The four fell silent suddenly. Practice and practice. If you are not careful, your swordsmanship will improve a little. We also want to feel it. This inexplicable taste becomes a blessing. Fine. Who made you a monster? Furthermore, we shouldn't be asking this question. I already knew that this kid's talent was so terrifying. Are you still asking these questions? Isn't this just asking for trouble? It can be said that. Lift a rock and shoot yourself in the foot. I was wrong. Kizaru's face was full of resentment. I shouldn't be asking you these questions. Knew it. This brat really took advantage of one night to raise his own strength to such a level. No one would have imagined that the noisy challenge would come to an end in less than half an hour, and finally the curtain would be pulled down. Commodore and Rear Admiral, these two powerhouses, were instantly killed one after another. Layfon asked with a strange expression. The winner, of course, is Lay, who is only 7 years old. Sengoku opened his mouth. But, are there still few unimaginable things that happened to this kid? We shouldn't be asking you these questions. Although it is unbelievable. The challenge that had been brewing for 3 full days was declared over. Ever since. This is the biggest change in this challenge. That's a lot to count. Am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. We asked the wrong question. The essential. It is precisely because of this change that this challenge will be declared over so quickly. No one ever thought about it. One-on-one against half of Marineford. Advertisement Chapter 198 Arrangements are in place. Get recommended to Rear Admiral's mission. Open black lens bracket 4/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Sengoku, don't forget what you promised me. Garp laughed and patted Sengoku on the shoulder. Understood. Don't worry, what I promised will naturally not break my promise. Sengoku rolled his eyes, looking helpless. This grandpa and grandson are really worthless. But, just thought of, Sengoku is very happy to add a monster with such terrifying strength and talent to Marineford. Marine has not been born with such a terrifying talent for many years. Although not so green and yellow. But there is no denying it. In recent years, among the younger generation of Marine, there are fewer and fewer people who can carry the banner. And now, after seeing Layfon, Sengoku sees hope. The candidate for the young generation to carry the banner is definitely Layfon. Besides Layfon, Sengoku can't think of a second choice. Only Layfon is the most suitable. Even in the old era more than 10 years ago, with Layfon's terrifying talent, he was definitely the leader of the younger generation. Put it in today's age, which is a little bit out of date. With Layfon's terrifying talent and his super penultimate strength, as a candidate and leader who carries the banner, it is simply not very suitable. Who can compete with Layfon? No. Look across Marineford, and indeed across the ocean, and there's no one who can match Layfon's terrifying talent with the 27. Little ghost, why don't you thank Sengoku? Garp pointed to Layfon. Although in the fog, I can't figure it out. But it seems. The old man seems to have reached some kind of agreement with Sengoku secretly. Since it was Garp, Layfon naturally didn't think that the former would harm him, so he directly thanked him. Thank you, Marshal Sengoku. Okay. Sengoku waved his hand, looking helpless. This grandpa and grandson really have the same personality. But, if it wasn't for Garp's bloodline, how could this kid's talent be so terrifying? Although, this does not take too many factors. But there must be interference from this layer of factors. Beside, Admiral, Kizaru and Aokiji were a little puzzled. What the hell? All right, why do you feel like they have become outsiders? I don't understand. What are these two talking about? Let's go, this challenge should also be over. Sengoku took a deep look at Layfon, and praised Layfon without hesitation. Little devil, work harder. With your strength, it will definitely not be a problem to hit Vice Admiral this year. At that time, it will be the real meaning. Naval Headquarters ever, the youngest Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral in history. I'm looking forward to the day. Then, Sengoku also left. He didn't spend too much time here. As a Marine Marshal, Sengoku has a lot to do every day. There are a lot of affairs waiting for his reading and stamping, and he doesn't have much spare time to waste. Nature. Being able to come here today to witness this challenge is already a very rare time for Sengoku to squeeze out. The challenge is over. Sengoku also needs to return to the Marshal's office and continue to deal with his tedious affairs. Watch Sengoku leave. Kizaru and Aokiji left one after another. Only Garp and Layfon remain. Little ghost, you are blessed. Garp's smile is full of mystery. Old man, what agreement did you make with Marshal Sengoku? Layfon asked curiously. Secret at first, and you will know it naturally when the time comes. It will do you no harm. Advertisement. You can be assured. Garp laughed. Mysterious. Layfon waved his hand involuntarily. Prefer not to say. Let it go. His curiosity is not so exuberant. Anyway, after a long time, I will always know this, there is no need to rush for a while. Speaking of which, I really don't know if I don't force you, brat, to hide. You brat, your talent is so terrifying. It only took you 3 days to shock you from Commodore to Rear Admiral's powerful class. Garp had a look of emotion on his face. If it weren't for the crazy move 3 days ago, he still couldn't understand it at this moment. This grandson of my family seems to be much more terrifying than I imagined. Okay, Layfon smiled. Good. Garp's mouth twitched. Fine, you little devil, just enjoy yourself. For some reason, such a shocking feat in the world seems to have become a very common and normal thing in the mouth of you, a brat. What a world. Garp, who was a little numb after being shocked by most of the incredible things that happened to Layfon, quickly adjusted his mood. Let's go. Tomorrow, the surprise this old man will give you will fall on your head. Then you will naturally know what the old man and Sengoku are talking about. Garp remains mysterious. Gradually, Layfon and Garp also left the empty training ground. This noisy challenge has since come to an end. It ended so quickly that no one expected it. Under the spotlight, in less than half an hour, the challenge was declared over. Who would have thought of this? Also, there are only 2 challengers from the Japanese Communist Party. Along with the 2 challengers, they were instantly killed one after another. This stopped the 3rd challenger, suppressed the eagerness in his heart, and never dared to initiate a challenge rashly. Officially so. That's why this challenge was pulled down ahead of schedule. With this challenge, the curtain came to an end. Marineford is boiling again. The aftermath of the challenge was enough to overturn half of Marineford. After hundreds of thousands of formal Marines left the scene, their shocking mood was fully expressed. Thousands of emotions such as emotion and wonder in their hearts were expressed in thousands of words. To date, they simply cannot forget. 2 battles took place at the training ground today. First Commodore was killed in seconds. Then, it was the turn of the Rear Admiral level powerhouse again, and he was instantly killed by a face-to-face. The development of this matter is too dramatic. It almost subverts cognition. It overturned everyone's worldview. Thereby, Marineford was also triggered by a bigger wave, just like the second wave of storms, causing the entire Marineford to be shaken and turbulent. Marine Ensign, who is only 7 years old, is simply bent. It's not. Mr. Layfon, whose strength is already infinitely close to that of Marine Vice Admiral, is only an ensign. Who dares to refute this matter? There is no doubt that Mr. Layfon's strength is definitely at the Rear Admiral level. Moreover, in the Rear Admiral class, he can be regarded as one of the top ranks. The first person under Vice Admiral, do you really think this title is for nothing? Then, Marineford seethed. Compared with the noisy movement 3 days ago, it is much bigger. It's just a noisy movement, which is the complete opposite of what happened 3 days ago. Advertisement. 3 days ago. The main reason for people's fuss is that they doubt Layfon's strength and cannot hold the position of ensign. However, this moment, once again making waves at Marineford, I simply think that Layfon is too talented to be an ensign. With such a strength, it is more than enough to be a Marine Rear Admiral. All kinds of heated discussions are circulating in every corner of Marineford. Compared with the hot discussion in 3 days, it shows the opposite contrast. Now when people are discussing hotly, the tone is more awe, worship, etc. I am deeply in awe and admiration of Layfon's strength. Today's challenge, Layfon's absolutely terrifying strength, deeply impressed them. It also made them never dare to question Layfon's age. Strength is the foundation of everything. Layfon, who was only 7 years old, used her absolute strength to deter most of Marineford's Marines. This feat has refreshed everyone's perception. Let them change perceptions about a young person. Age does not mean strength. Just like, the Layfon they see today is only 7 years old, but his strength can be called the number 1 under Tianzhong. Can imagine, what kind of terrifying strength is needed to be given this title. The first person under Vice Admiral. This is a joke. Without absolute strength, can you get this title? Of course not. And Layfon only took 2 shots, but it was enough to be given this title. This can also be seen from the side, how strong Layfon is. Twice in a row, Commodore and Rear Admiral were defeated. This move, even some experienced top Rear Admirals in Marineford, is impossible to do and follow suit. From today, Mr. Layfon, that's what I want to pursue all my life. In fact, it should be an honor for us to have Mr. Layfon become Marine Ensign. I don't care, Mr. Layfon is my idol. From this day on. Layfon has a group of admirers inexplicably in Marineford. And there are many, tens of thousands of admirers. That means, Layfon's reputation really started. The prestige resounded through half of Marineford, and it really made everyone realize. Layfon not only has a prominent identity background, but also his strength and talent are immeasurable. That's it. Time flies. Another day passed. The next day. The turmoil in Marineford gradually showed some signs of introversion, and people also returned to their 3.9 posts, busy with their own affairs conscientiously. No matter how lively things are, there will always be a day when things cool down. Even this challenge, which caused great upheaval in Marineford, was no exception. Of course, a mission that fits the lad Layfon's current state very well. And, the most important thing is, in this battle, Layfon has established its own prestige. Sengoku leaned back in the chair and rubbed his temples. He slowly picked up the document on the desktop, read it for a while, and stamped it himself. The risk factor of this task is not high, but the only inevitable thing is. Moment. His eyes flickered, and after he exhaled heavily, a smile of emotion appeared on his face. People still talk about the challenge that happened yesterday. 1. The task that will allow this kid to rise to the top and led him to the position of Rear Admiral without hindrance. At the same time, the name of Layfon has been deeply rooted in their bones, so they will remember it deeply. At the same time, it's just talking, it's not as intense as yesterday. In this way, the matter I agreed to Garp can be said to be perfectly resolved. I finally have a complete explanation for Garp. I finally found it. Marshal's office. Advertisement chapter 199 only one check-in away from Vice Admiral. Open black lens bracket 5/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Thinking of this, Sengoku picked up the phone bug by the corner of the table and dialed it quickly. Boo boo boo. The unique voice of the phone bug was buzzing in my ears. Soon, the phone bug dialed. A voice full of awe came from inside. Marshal Sengoku, what are your orders? Come over to the Marshal's office. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. When the phone bug hangs up, Sengoku was still holding the document tightly with both hands, his eyes flickered, and his tired face seemed to be relieved obviously. Layfon, this brat, is already infinitely close to Vice Admiral in strength. It's not too much to let him walk all the way to the status of Rear Admiral. What he currently lacks is qualifications. If you want to become a Rear Admiral, strength alone is not enough. You also need to have enough qualifications to be promoted to the position of a Rear Admiral. Any Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, which one has not experienced countless battles, and thus has the status of today. Aokiji, Kizaru, even they, without exception, have come all the way. So, I made a shortcut for Layfon, which is already an example of breaking the rules. But in the past, there has never been an example like Layfon. It is understandable to take a shortcut for him. With his strength, it is still too inferior to serve as a small ensign. Sengoku thought to himself, the military rank and status in Marine not only represent strength, but also qualifications, experience and other factors. Layfon's strength is enough. However, there are still many aspects such as qualifications and experience that are lacking. 14. If Sengoku wants to promote Layfon's position, he must let Layfon go through all of this. After he has enough experience, he can become Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral logically. Only strength, after all, is too one-sided. A more comprehensive factor is needed to allow Sengoku to better arrange the identity of Rear Admiral to Layfon. Now, in order to make up for the lack of Layfon's qualifications, Sengoku has prepared a non-dangerous task for Layfon, and let Layfon complete it. After completing this task, it is logical to fill the vacancy in Layfon's experience. Although this does not make Layfon out of thin air, with a bright resume that has experienced countless battles, it does not make Layfon's qualifications blank. With Layfon's strength and talent, in terms of qualifications, completing a few tasks is enough to make up for Layfon's current shortcomings. And this is what Sengoku promised Garp. Arrange the most simple, quick and easy tasks to ensure that there will be no surprises in Layfon's execution of the task, and this task is also full of gold. In this way, as long as Layfon completes the task, the gap in seniority can be filled. Then, Sengoku can promote Layfon's official title to Rear Admiral according to the process. This is Sengoku's plan. It can be regarded as a shortcut for Layfon. This kind of example, only once in thousands of years. Also Sengoku, the only one opened by Layfon. If Layfon's talent is not too transcendent, Sengoku will think about it even if he agrees to Garp. But Layfon's talent is too high. When asked Sengoku to face this kind of thing, he agreed without thinking too long. Anyway, in Sengoku's view, it is only a matter of time before Layfon becomes Rear Admiral. Morning and evening are Rear Admiral. In addition, Layfon's strength is indeed enough to serve as Rear Admiral. It would be better to let Layfon reach the status of Rear Admiral in advance. It is also good to arrange more tasks for Layfon, and let Layfon grow better. Sengoku is also looking forward to it. With such a terrifying talent possessed by Layfon, what does it mean that the other party will be so strong in the next few years? Vice Admiral, or After thinking a lot, countless thoughts were gradually suppressed by Sengoku. This little devil really doesn't know how to be blessed in the midst of blessings. Guarded to Rear Admiral status. This kind of example is simply unprecedented. If I hadn't agreed to Garp, I wouldn't have taken a shortcut here. This brat is really blessed. Talent, identity, background, advertisement. Almost everything, all in one. I can predict that in the future, the prestige of this brat will resound throughout this sea area. Sengoku was overwhelmed with emotion. Under these conditions, Layfon enjoys the best growing environment. And Sengoku is also the first time to do this kind of black box operation. Send a person to the post of Rear Admiral in an above-board manner. Walk. This is the first time Sengoku has produced this kind of cognition and concept in his mind. There was no danger along the way, and everything was arranged by the Marshal Sengoku. Layfon only needs to perform one mission to cross over to the status of Rear Admiral. And this time the task, there is no danger, but full of gold. This kind of task is basically a task for Vice Admiral to break the head fight on weekdays. But this time, Sengoku directly intercepted this task and assigned it to Layfon directly. This is the guarantee. Overall, walk Layfon to Marine Rear Admiral. No doubt, this is the first time Sengoku has operated in secret. And Layfon is lucky to be the first such example. In the past, Naval Headquarters has never had such an instance. But I have to say, the reason why there is no such example in the past is, of course, because there has never been a genius like Layfon born. This prompted, the routine has never been broken. Genius, always different, but in the past 100 years, there has never been a genius similar to Layfon. Boom boom boom. At this time, the door was knocked. Sengoku's thoughts were withdrawn from it, and his eyes followed the trend to look at Tianmen. Come in. With Sengoku's words just fell. Crunch. The door was pushed open directly. A young man wearing a Marine Commodore uniform walked into the Marshal's office with a respectful and awe-inspiring look on his face. He walked up to Sengoku with small steps, his tone reserved and somewhat apprehensive. Marshal Sengoku. Think for a moment. Sengoku slowly handed the document in his hand to the Marine Commodore in front of him, and solemnly ordered. Help convey this document and send it to Layfon Ensign. And tell him to carry out the mission according to the document. During the execution of the mission, 100 Marine soldiers can be randomly selected to accompany them to the sea. Also, I have ordered the management personnel on the warship side in advance. Let him rush to the port of Marineford at any time, and dispatch a warship to go to sea to perform missions. There are so many contents in total, you go down. Finished. The Commodore quickly put the documents in his arms, bid farewell to Sengoku with a cautious and apprehensive expression, and quickly left the Marshal's office. Watching Commodore go, Sengoku took a long time to look away, feeling still touched. Black box operation. The method of the Marshal himself is really getting more and more disgraceful. Blame the damn Garp. If it wasn't for this guy, how could I do such a disgraceful act of black box operation? After all, I'm still not clean. I have become an unclean Marine Marshal. Hateful. For many years, Rizzy has maintained an image of being upright, fair and just. Did not expect. Got ruined by this guy Garp. Early morning. The golden sun shines on the window sill. The meaning of warmth filled the room and flowed slowly. Opening his eyes and pupils, Layfon stood by the window, feeling the sunlight shining on his body carefully. The warmth filled the surface of the skin, dispelling the morning moisture and coldness in the air. System. Start daily check-in. Advertisement. It's the most anticipated time of the day for Layfon again. This time, Layfon is looking forward to what kind of ability he can offer. At present, his own strength is infinitely close to Vice Admiral. So can you sign in with this time? So, go further. It was something Layfon felt a little longing for. At the same time, he is also very curious. If you go further, what level of strength have you reached? With a mood full of anticipation, soon the system sound rang. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. The cumulative time of the detection system has reached 24 hours. Open black lens bracket. You can sign in. Please host to confirm again. Do you want to sign in? Close black lens bracket. The sound of the system, crisp and sweet, lingers in Layfon's ears. As always, without any awkwardness, Fu Feng's operation became more and more proficient. Confirm check-in. Open black lens bracket. Sign in successfully. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations to host. You got the ability gift package for sign in reward. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to open the ability gift pack? Close black lens bracket. Open. Without the slightest hesitation, Layfon directly said to open it silently. Open black lens bracket. Ability gift pack is opening. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Enabled. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Ding. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host. You can get knowledge colored luck plus 1v3, armament hockey plus VB, conquerors hockey plus LV3, close black lens bracket. As soon as the system's voice fell, Layfon's expression appeared a little stunned. Immediately, the meaning of ecstasy covers the heart. Layfon's eyes flickered, and his expression was full of excitement, recalling the voice that the system lingered in his mind just now. It's a rare conqueror's hockey level up. Although it is only a small level increase, it is enough to make Layfon's strength get a very obvious leap again. Conqueror's hockey. Not only the armed color, but also the knowledge color and conquerors have been greatly improved. Each of them has been raised by 3 levels at once. My strength has ushered in another big improvement. Surprises are everywhere. Layfon, who was hit by a big surprise, soon felt a warm current appearing in his body out of thin air, washing his internal organs. At the same time, got stronger. That means, the knowledge about armed color, knowledge color, and conqueror's application completely swept Layfon's mind, allowing him to absorb and digest at a terrifying speed. Feeling the changes in his body, the smile on his face was extraordinarily bright. If there is any improvement in strength, the next step is to truly leapfrog into the power level of Vice Admiral. Can be felt very clearly. Strictly speaking, you just need to wait for the next check in time. Now I should be at the limit level of Rear Admiral, infinitely close to Vice Admiral. This is the real infinite approach to Vice Admiral, the first person under Vice Admiral. In a minute, a memory flooded into his mind like a tide. Just one trip away from Vice Admiral. Layfon also opened his eyes, and a gleam of light flashed across his pupils. This day is not far away, and very close. Your own strength has become much stronger. The next time I sign in, my strength will officially enter the Vice Admiral level. All the changes in the body came to an abrupt end. The power class from Vice Admiral. Going a step further. Advertisement Chapter 200. The mission is finally here. Go invite Shichibukai. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Yes. With Layfon's current strength, if there is a slight breakthrough, it will be able to successfully break through the bottleneck threshold and break open the door of Marine Vice Admiral. In the true sense, it has reached the level of Vice Admiral's strength. Vice Admiral, not far from Layfon. Very close. Just one step away. It seems that if you raise your hand and grab it, you can already touch the door of Vice Admiral. The next check-in will undoubtedly be the moment when Layfon's strength has successfully entered Marine Vice Admiral. This, Layfon can be sure of. If nothing unexpected happens. The next time you check in, which is tomorrow morning, is when you enter Vice Admiral yourself. How close? It only takes one day. Vice Admiral, it is at your fingertips. This made Layfon feel naturally full of anticipation. Looking forward to tomorrow, the moment when I truly enter the Vice Admiral class. Never thought about it, so close to Vice Admiral. And, the speed of this strength improvement is really too fast. I've only been in Marineford less than a week. But already, it's within easy reach of Vice Admiral. Layfon himself was surprised. He did not expect that his own strength would improve so rapidly. Vice Admiral, this is already the top powerhouse in the sea. Although it is not the top of the pyramid, but looking at the sea, it can definitely be said to be the top. There is no doubt about this. This realm is only one day away from Layfon at this moment. Tomorrow, Layfon can announce that it has stepped into the ranks of Vice Admiral's strength. Vice Admiral is the senior staff of Marine. Compared with the status of Rear Admiral, that is much, much higher. Also, the strength gap between the two is also a world of difference. Less than a week, my strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral, and I only need to take a step to break through the door of Vice Admiral. It is the first step to enter the threshold of Vice Admiral's level of strength. Who can imagine the speed at which this strength increases? If the old man knows, I can successfully become a Vice Admiral force tomorrow. I'm afraid his jaw will drop from my shock. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking to himself. Say no to Garp. Layfon himself did not expect that his strength would improve so much. How can others imagine? If this gets out, it wasn't just Garp who was stunned. The entire Marineford, I'm afraid there will be huge waves again. This challenge has just ended. It suddenly came out that Layfon's strength is going to step into Vice Admiral. Who can believe this? It's really incredible, although Layfon's strength is considered in everyone's eyes infinitely close to Rear Admiral. But almost everyone believes that if Layfon wants to make its own strength reach the strength level of Rear Admiral, it really needs a little time to brew and settle. If at this moment, Layfon suddenly became Vice Admiral, what will these people think? I'm afraid that I will doubt my life on the spot. Never mind, let these guys calm down for a few days. By the way, let Marineford be quiet for a few days. After staying for a few days, I successfully became Vice Admiral, and it won't be too late to spread the news. Layfon has plans. It has only been a few days since I entered the powerful class of Rear Admiral. Let me announce once again that I am going to reach the level of Vice Admiral. Even Layfon was amazed at the rapid change in strength. Just one step away from Vice Admiral. Take the step. You have successfully entered the ranks of Vice Admiral. This is the strength that is infinitely close to Rear Admiral. Advertisement. Yesterday's me is still far from the current state. But now, with the improvement of Conqueror's Haki this time, my strength will be fully upgraded to the number 1 person under Vice Admiral. This is the real number 1 under Vice Admiral. Now, let me face any powerhouse at the Rear Admiral level. I am confident that I can defeat the opponent with very fierce methods, even with a crushing posture. Feeling the violent power that his body is currently full of, Layfon has endless self-confidence in his heart. Yesterday's Layfon was not absolutely sure that it would be able to challenge so many Rear Admirals from Marineford one by one. But if it is today, with Layfon, he has truly reached the level of strength of the first person under Vice Admiral. He has full confidence. It can overturn, crush all the Rear Admirals in the entire Marineford. Layfon, who is only one step away from Vice Admiral at the moment, is so confident. As long as the reward for signing in next time is not too bad. Then I can really get into the power of Vice Admiral. Hopefully, my luck will not be too bad, thought Layfon. But recently, my luck has really exploded. I only hope that the luck of this explosion will not disappear at the next check-in. Even if the next sign in reward is only Marine 6 styles, it is enough to make Layfon's strength go a step further, reaching the strength level of Vice Admiral. As long as it's not too bad a reward. Layfon's requirements are not too high. He didn't expect to get a good reward for the next sign in reward. But not too bad. Bad luck. I really let myself get a tasteless ability, otherwise Layfon is still very confident. After signing in tomorrow, he will officially enter the threshold of Vice Admiral's strength standard. System, bring up the properties panel. With a thought, Layfon checked his own property panel. Open black lens bracket host. Layfon close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket power. 70 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket speed. 71 close black lens bracket. 69. Open black lens bracket skills. Swordsmanship LV17, Armament Hockey IV9 plus V3, Observation Hakil 9 plus LV3, Conquerors Hakil 7 plus V3, Marine 6 styles 1 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket skill point. 0 close black lens bracket. Really, just as Layfon expected. Conqueror's Hockey panel, raised 3 levels. Even Conquerors, have improved a lot. Let Layfon's Conqueror's deterrence, can straight up a lot. As long as the color of armament and color of knowledge reaches LV10, my strength can be regarded as the level of Vice Admiral. Now Layfon's strength is like a bottle of water, the water is about to overflow, but if a little bit of foreign matter falls into the water will crazily overflow and break through the bottle cap. Thereby, let Layfon's strength break open the door and enter the Vice Admiral's level. As long as there is a small improvement, Layfon can grab the door of Vice Admiral and enter this powerful class without much improvement. Of course, if the reward for the next sign in is too weak, even if Layfon is infinitely close to Vice Admiral, he can only sigh helplessly. E.g., if you sign in next time, the reward is Conquerors. Then Layfon can only sigh helplessly. Conquerors will not really improve Layfon's combat power, but can only increase his deterrence sideways, nothing more. In the actual combat of top powerhouses, the improvement of Conquerors will not affect the trend of the battle. The role of Conquerors is more to clear the field. But there are exceptions. For example, practice Conquerors Hockey to the highest level and ultimate level. Let Conquerors can have the time to make impact on real objects. At that time, Conquerors was no longer limited to impacting people's spirit and consciousness. Instead, it will actually cause a substantial impact on the human body. This Conquerors is currently in Layfon's cognition. Looking at this see, only one person has it. That is, the broken arm 4 emperors of the new world. My luck shouldn't be too bad, right? Layfon suddenly felt a little guilty. Boom boom boom. At this time, the door was knocked without warning. Mr. Layfon, there is a Marine Commodore outside, coming to you with a mission from Marshal Sengoku. Khalifa's crisp and sweet voice came from the door. Commodore, a mission from Marshal Sengoku. A task for me. Layfon was taken aback for a moment. Advertisement. Immediately afterwards, he looked full of anticipation. My task, is it finally about to be issued? It has been a few days since I came to Marineford, and a mission came. Allow yourself to experience it. The experience of driving a warship to go to sea to perform missions. Anyway, I have become a naval headquarters ensign myself. What about driving a warship and leading a group of Marine soldiers to perform missions at sea? What's the problem? Isn't this the power of an ensign? I just don't know, what is the mission assigned by Marshal Sengoku this time? Speak. Yesterday, the old man told me about what he negotiated with Marshal Sengoku. Today, I will reveal the answer. Shouldn't it be the content of this mission? Old man, did you actually go through the back door again? And let Marshal Sengoku operate in secret for me? No way. Layfon's expression was a little weird. If this is the case, then this mission might not be too difficult. On the contrary, it will be very relaxed, just like an outing. At best, at most, it's just a process and a formality. This kind of good errand will naturally make countless vice admirals compete for it. But in the end, if it really falls into his own hands, it can only explain one point. Both Garp and Sengoku really operated in secret. Otherwise, I am just a little ensign, how can he be given such a task? If you really didn't go through the back door, then such an easy task would never be your turn. Fu Feng is still well aware of this. However, these are only guesses at present and cannot be determined. With many thoughts in mind, Layfon walked out of the room and walked all the way to the gate. In front of the door, a Marine wearing a Commodore uniform, holding a document in his hand, was full of awe and respect after seeing Layfon appear. Even though Layfon's position is only a mere Marine ensign, it is at least 5 or 6 levels lower than his Commodore status. But after what happened yesterday, no one dared to treat Layfon as an ordinary ensign anymore. The strength is infinitely close to that of Vice Admiral's ensign. Although the official rank is much lower than that of Commodore, this terrifying strength lies here, so it is naturally impossible for anyone to underestimate or despise him. He's just a little Commodore. A person of his level was just slapped yesterday. Even the rear admiral on the Commodore was easily killed by Layfon. Therefore, standing in front of Layfon, he naturally didn't dare to hold Commodore's proud posture, but looked very humble and nervous, with a somewhat reserved expression. Layfon Ensign, this is the document that Marshal Sengoku ordered me to hand over to you. Marshal Sengoku also gave a special explanation. You can rush to the port of Marineford and send a warship to the sea to perform a mission. The warship management personnel in the port have been explained by the Marshal of the War, Zhao Zhao, and you only need to rush to the port. You don't need to worry too much about the rest of the tedious matters. The warship management staff over there will make proper arrangements for you. Also, you can choose 100 Marine soldiers at will to accompany you to carry the warship with you this time, and go to sea to perform this mission. Follow the words sent by Sengoku. This Commodore told the truth completely, without any reservation or concealment, and also did not dare to lie about military information. After listening to the Commodore's remarks and taking the document, Layfon nodded thoughtfully. I understand. Although there were many puzzles and questions left in his heart, Layfon didn't ask too many questions. Even if you ask more. Presumably, as this Commodore, he doesn't know too much. Asking is purely a white question. At that time, you only need to check this document to know what the exact content of the task is. Layfon Ensign, then I'll go first. I wish you all the best in this mission. According to what Sengoku explained, after finishing all the talking at one time, this Commodore did not stay here too much, and simply left. Watching the back of this Commodore drifting away until it completely disappeared from sight. Layfon then slowly looked away. After turning around and closing the door, Layfon took out the document in his hand, and quickly read the detailed task content and introduction above the document. Quite a while, after reading all the contents of the document in his hand, the expression on Layfon's face became a little weird and unexpected. Shichibukai, let me, on behalf of Naval Headquarters, go and invite Shichibukai, rush to the Shrine Mariajoy to attend the Shichibukai conference. Advertisement Chapter 201 Invited Object, Empress Hancock. Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Holding documents. Layfon focused on flipping through the content above the document. To make sure he read it correctly, he read it again and again carefully for the second time. A few minutes passed. Layfon let out a heavy breath, his face full of wonder, surprise, and surprise. He really didn't expect it. Marshal Sengoku actually entrusted himself with such a task. Good job. This is indeed a good job. There is basically no danger at all, and the risk factor is very low. As long as you follow the flow of the task content, it can be said that there is no danger at all. The probability of danger is much lower than the probability of a meteorite falling on his forehead. A task like this is definitely something that countless Marines must compete for if they break their heads. Shichibukai Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. He didn't expect it. So soon, I will have to deal with 7 warlords of the sea. This moment, he finally understood. What exactly are the things Garp and Sengoku are discussing? It turned out that it was to find a good task for myself, to make myself logical, and after completing this simple task without any suspense, I could raise my official title and status openly. Old man, in order for me to advance to the military rank faster, it can be said that I have taken great pains. Layfon couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. He felt it. Garp has high hopes for himself. If not, Garp wouldn't be ashamed to ask Sengoku for such a good job. In short, as long as this task is completed, Layfon's ensign status can naturally be raised to another level. It's not even as simple as 1 or 2 grades. The current Layfon does not lack strength, what it lacks is sufficient experience and qualifications. And these can all be obtained from this mission. Dealing with Shichibukai is definitely worth the money. And the risk factor is quite low. Undeniable. Each of Shichibukai is an extremely dangerous character in the sea. But what does Layfon stand for? He stands for Naval Headquarters. With the status of 250 here, even if Shichibukai were given 10,000 courage, they would not dare to have any thought of acting rashly against Layfon. Shichibukai can be arrogant, but it is relative to whom. Facing the entire Naval Headquarters, they dare to throw a hammer. And Layfon, representing the Naval Headquarters, went to invite them to participate in the Shichibukai meeting held in the holy place Mariajoy. In other words, their weakness against Layfon is a blatant slap in the face for Naval Headquarters. This consequence, they Shichibukai cannot bear. That's why. After reading the content of this document, Layfon directly believed that the main reason for the very low risk factor of this task. Because, behind him stands the entire Naval Headquarters. His invitation to Shichibukai this time represents the attitude of Naval Headquarters. Without this layer of identity, Layfon naturally does not think that he can stand in front of Shichibukai and show off his might. With his current strength, it is indeed much inferior. But if he represents Naval Headquarters, then naturally it is different. As long as Layfon doesn't do it, it's too much, none of these Shichibukai dare to be against Layfon. On this point, I am 100% sure. The risk factor is very low. But full of gold, it's like a trip to sea. Where can I find this kind of mission? Layfon could imagine. In order to win this task, both Garp and Sengoku must have expended a lot of effort. Otherwise, how could such a good job be my turn? A group of vice admirals are waiting in line, vying to win this task. But Layfon took over the task. Nothing tricky here. Only ghosts believe that there is nothing tricky in it. Advertisement. It must be because of the black box operation. Even Layfon himself can imagine it. The reason why I can get this task must be that Garp and Sengoku are secretly planning some tricks. Otherwise, Layfon does not believe that with his current strength, he is qualified to accept such a task. Generally speaking, Bebby, for this type of mission, Vice Admiral is given priority, and then Rear Admiral, Commodore and so on. And Layfon, now it's just a small ensign. This kind of task, even if it takes a round, it will not be his turn. A lot of people were beaten to death, and all the wives fought for this kind of thing. The danger is low, but the harvest results are very high task. Rao is Vice Admiral, I am afraid that he is very eager to get this kind of task. But this task fell on my head. Old man, the secret you said about feelings, is this. Then I really have to thank you very much. But having said that, doesn't your secret operation mean that I will be sent directly to a higher official rank and status? Layfon thought oddly. Good guy, emotion. We ourselves are also a recommended player. This kind of treatment is simply enough to make countless Marines jealous. Unfortunately, they don't get that kind of treatment at all. Who told us to be born well? It perfectly shows the benefits of having a prominent background. Envy. You can't be envious. A smile crept across Layfon's face. In addition to identity and background, there is also Layfon's own talent and strength. These conditions are indispensable. Just having an identity background is not enough. Talent, identity background, strength. These must have everything. Everything is complete. Layfon, on the other hand, fully possesses these factors. Talent, strength, identity background, all belong to the top class. Although the strength is not yet the top, but it can already be regarded as the strong of the sea. Being infinitely close to the strength of Vice Admiral, it is natural for Layfon to sail freely in the first half of the Grand Line. As for looking at the new world, Layfon's strength may still be lacking, but it definitely does not belong to the grassroots. With good control of Conqueror's Haki, coupled with proficient sword skills, and Marine 6 styles, Layfon's strength is still a middle-level powerhouse even if he enters the new world. There is naturally a big gap from the top. But for the grassroots staff of New World, Layfon's strength is still terrifyingly strong. In general, this task is low in risk, high in reward, and full of gold. To sum it up in the simplest words, this task is equivalent to plating gold on people. Gold plate a second generation, third generation, and increase resumes, qualifications, and experience. Coincidentally, at this moment, I become the gilded person. I can imagine. The old man and Marshal Sengoku must have been tortured and condemned in order to arrange this task for me. These two old men have also learned to operate in secret. For a moment Layfon's mind was racing. He couldn't imagine that picture. Sengoku, who has always been upright, unexpectedly engaged in a wave of secret operations with Garp. This is so rare. How can I refuse the painstaking efforts of two old people who are over half a century old? Since this task was arranged by the old man and the others, Layfon naturally has no worries. Garp never hurt himself, although sometimes, the old man Garp does things in a more extreme way. For example, yesterday's challenge, without Layfon's knowledge, inexplicably ushered in half a Marineford solo queue. But Garp's original intention is good, mainly to stimulate Layfon's talent potential, so that Layfon can grow and improve at a faster speed. And the results did not disappoint Garp. Layfon has indeed done it, growing at a terrifying speed, and his strength is infinitely close to that of Marine Vice Admiral, as the first person under Vice Admiral. Even, what Layfon has done far exceeds Garp's expectations. Originally, Garp's expectation was to let Layfon's strength leap to Rear Admiral. Advertisement. But Layfon did more than that. And let your own strength be close to that of Vice Admiral. This is what Garp did not expect. If I'm not mistaken. The task of inviting Shichibukai is usually done by Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. It is only when Vice Admiral goes to invite Shichibukai in person that it shows the seriousness and solemnity Naval Headquarters treats Shichibukai. Marine is also very cautious when dealing with Shichibukai. Conversely, Shichibukai will treat Marine more cautiously. Both sides respect each other, although Shichibukai will be more afraid of Marine. But Marine will not dare to provoke Shichibukai casually. The two sides seem to maintain a certain state of balance. This balance cannot be broken. Once broken, it will be in big trouble. And this time, the picture fell on my little ensign. It can be seen from this. These two old men must have gone through some consideration. Let me, ensign, go out and invite Shichibukai to the Holy Land Mariajoy to attend the Shichibukai meeting. Will it make Shichibukai feel that Marine is not giving them face? Not to mention, I'm still a 7-year-old Marine ensign. Layfon's eyes twinkled. This was the only concern in his mind. In the past, Vice Admiral was usually sent to invite Shichibukai, which means that Marine attaches great importance to Shichibukai. If not, why not send Commodore, or Rear Admiral? Instead of sending Vice Admiral, Marine just wanted to show how much they value Shichibukai. Let Vice Admiral send out the invitation, and you won't lose face to Shichibukai. And myself, after all, is just a small ensign. Allow yourself to invite Shichibukai. Not sure. It is also very possible that Shichibukai will be dissatisfied because of his identity. Shichibukai may not dare to fight against himself blatantly. After all, there are naval headquarters behind him, and he also represents the majesty of naval headquarters. But Shichibukai may not be able to make some small moves. The strength of Shichibukai, everyone is quite tyrannical. Even with some small movements, Layfon needs to be cautious. Plus, inside Shichibukai, quite a few neurotic guys. No one can fathom their character. If you're not careful, Layfon might admit it. All in all, in this trip, although the risk factor is very low, there is still a certain probability of danger. Layfon can't be sure. As an ensign, go to invite Shichibukai, whether it will anger the other party. Even, with the other party's moody and neurotic personality, would he attack him on the spot? These are all things that Layfon cannot come up with accurate answers. He must be careful. Just because the risk factor of this mission is low, it cannot be said to be lax and careless. A little careless, dangerous, it is very likely to be infinitely magnified. When performing tasks, the most taboo is laxity and carelessness. Although it is only the first time to go to sea to perform missions, Layfon will not make these low-level mistakes. In particular, what he needs to face this time is the notorious group of neurotic powerhouses in the sea, the 7 warlords of the sea. These neurotic powerhouses cannot use common sense to figure out judgments. As for what will they do? It all depends on their mood and preferences that day. The next target is you. If the strength is strong enough, do you still need to look at Shichibukai's face? Layfon needs to control the warship, sail to the destination of this mission, and then solemnly invite this Shichibukai, so that Shichibukai can accompany the warship all the way to the Holy Land Mariajoy to participate in the Shichibukai meeting. This is the mission content of Layfon's trip. Layfon turned his gaze, and fixed on the end of the content of the document in his hand. After all, the strength is still insufficient. Suppress all the thoughts in your mind. Shichibukai, strength. The Shichibukai that Layfon needs to invite this time is. At the end of the content, the final destination of this mission is written. It was an island on the calm belt. Empress, Boa Hancock. Non-existent. Daughter Island, Amazon Lily. After I successfully step into the powerful class of Vice Admiral. That's right. As for where is the destination? Advertisement Chapter 202 Target Amazon Lily. Start sailing. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Known as the most beautiful woman in the world, Empress Hancock. Also known as Snake Princess. In Shichibukai, the Empress Hancock is also a strong neurotic, moody, sometimes happy, sometimes angry, and cold. All in all, Layfon needs to be cautious against any Shichibukai. Certainly, no matter how nervous Shichibukai is, it is impossible to take the initiative to attack Layfon without actively angering the other party. Taking action against Layfon means tearing up the face and unilaterally tearing up the Shichibukai agreement. Then, the nervous Shichibukai could be in big trouble. What needs to be faced will be the wrathful flames of Naval Headquarters. No Shichibukai can withstand the wrath of the Naval Headquarters. Not to mention, Hancock is still the Emperor of Daughter Island, and has a group of people under her command, who need to be protected by her. Once she chooses to attack Layfon, Daughter Island will inevitably be destroyed. Therefore, no matter how nervous Hancock is, he will never dare to attack Layfon easily. The most beautiful woman in the world. I really want to see what kind of fairy-like appearance he has. But what I should pay more attention to is the strength of the Empress. Her strength is at the top of Shichibukai. With my current strength, if I really anger her, if she tears up her face and forcibly attacks me regardless of the face of Naval Headquarters, I will be in big trouble. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little stressed. At present, his strength is only infinitely close to Vice Admiral, and he has not even crossed the threshold of Vice Admiral. Naturally, he cannot be compared with Shichibukai's level of powerhouse. Every Shichibukai is a well-known neurotic strongman in the sea. Not to mention ordinary Vice Admirals, even elite Vice Admirals, such as Ghost Spiders and Flying Squirrels, in one-on-one situations, they are tough enough to face Shichibukai, and their chances of winning are basically slim. And Layfon's current strength is obviously much inferior. However, with my strength, the speed of growth is also fast. It's not too far from Shichibukai. Layfon has full confidence in his heart. Now we are just one step away from Vice Admiral. Next goal, you can customize Shichibukai. Shichibukai can be regarded as a strong player above Vice Admiral and below Admiral. Much stronger than Vice Admiral, but also much less than Admiral. Overall, among the official ranks of Marine, the two military ranks with the largest gap in strength are the strength class from Vice Admiral to Admiral. Although there is only one rank and status difference, the strength is very different. Suppressing all his thoughts, Layfon put away the appointment document in his hand. Admiral Sengoku has already ordered that the many warships docked on the coast of Marineford allow me to dispatch a warship to sea. Also, I can still choose 100 Marine soldiers as subordinates for this trip to sea. A smile crept across Layfon's face. Aside from the goals of the trip, it was a pretty good trip. Generally, tasks like this are given priority to Vice Admiral for selection. Basically not, hit a small Marine ensign on the head. And Layfon was able to get this task, obviously because of someone behind it. Lay enjoys the taste of being backstage with an identity background. Don't use your background and identity. Isn't this purely stupid behavior? Layfon will not learn from those idiots. Shouting all day, you have to rely on yourself, you have to rely on your own ability to win the respect of others. Layfon doesn't need these things. As the saying goes, background and background are also part of one's own strength. Layfon certainly does not reject this. How to find 100 Marine soldiers as subordinates? That's a problem. Layfon was lost in thought. Quite a while. He thought of a solution. Anyway, look for Garp on the right. Wouldn't it be a breeze to let Garp arrange these subordinates for him? And you can also find some Grandmaster sailing helmsmen, navigators, etc. according to your own needs. If Layfon were to search for it himself, it would undoubtedly waste a lot of unnecessary troublesome time to find the right helmsman and navigator. It's better to just go to Garp directly and let Garp arrange everything for him. Just do it. After breakfast and saying goodbye to Khalifa, Layfon left the house. Advertisement. Soon, he found Garp. In the early morning, Garp is very comfortable and leisurely, lying on a seat next to a certain training ground and sleeping soundly, snoring loudly. Old man. The arrival of Layfon wakes Garp up from his dream. When he saw Layfon, Garp rubbed his eyes and looked puzzled. Little devil, why come to me when you have time? I remember that Sengoku should send you a mission. Heard the words. Layfon's eyes became a little strange. I came to ask you to borrow someone. Borrower. Whom? The helmsman, navigator, and 100 Marines elite subordinates. Layfon told the truth directly. Okay, I'll arrange it for you in a while. Garp nodded. Of course he knows what Layfon is borrowing people for. Thinking of this, Garp's expression was a bit anticipatory. Little ghost, what special feelings do you have when you go out to sea for the first time? You are quite satisfied with the mission that this old man has arranged for you. In order to arrange this task, Garp can be described as painstaking. Otherwise, how could there be a task with low risk and high gold content? And it won't take too long. Just rush to the destination and invite the Shichibukai to the holy place of Mariajoy. This trip will take no more than 3 days. Unless it is to invite remote Shichibukai in individual places. But this time, Garp arranged for Layfon to invite Shichibukai, which is located on the Grand Line, and is a relatively close distance from Marineford. The journey will not be too far, and the whole journey of departure and return will definitely not exceed 3 days, so you can simply and quickly complete this invitation task. At that time, Layfon's status can naturally be promoted as a matter of course. This is what Garp had in mind. Feeling. I don't feel anything. The biggest feeling is that it's great to have a backstage supporter. Layfon was all smiles. You brat. Garp was taken aback for a moment, then shook his head with a smile. Then, his tone became a little serious, and he solemnly asked, remember, these guys in Shichibukai. Every one of them is moody. When you face them, don't be too careless. Of course, you don't need to be too nervous and cautious. You represent the identity of Naval Headquarters. This level of identity is here, and they definitely don't dare to do anything to you easily. But to scare you, I guess it is very possible given their temperament. It depends on how you will deal with such things. The risk factor of this trip is indeed very low, but it is very likely that you will be targeted by these powerful and temperamental guys, so it is not certain that they will trip you up. Anyway, you just need to pay attention to it yourself, and they don't dare to make too much noise. You boy, please ask yourself, I can't help you much. I talked with Garp for a few minutes, during which Garp solemnly instructed me several times about these things that need to be paid attention to. Time flies. About 10 minutes passed. Garp handed over 100 elite Marines to Layfon for dispatch. Ever since, Layfon led hundreds of elite Marine subordinates and rushed all the way to the coast of Marineford's port with great fanfare, which attracted the attention of many Marines in Marineford. Do not forget, now Layfon, in Marineford can be regarded as an unscrupulous celebrity. Great reputation, has tens of thousands of fans and admirers. In addition, although yesterday's challenge came to an end, the waves and turmoil it caused could not be calmed down in a short time. Naturally, people don't forget so quickly that Marineford also has a terrifying monster who is only 7 years old. All the way to the harbor coast at Marineford. Without waiting for Layfon to order the man. Immediately afterwards, located in this area, several ensigns who were in charge of managing the warship trotted up to Layfon, their expressions full of awe and apprehension. Facing Layfon, they will of course be very cautious. Although the status is the same. But the problem is, the strength is different. Layfon can instantly kill Rear Admiral. This record is enough to make them feel awe of Layfon, and they dare not relax or neglect at all. Layfon Ensign, according to the orders of Admiral Sengoku. The number of the warship you went to see this time is number 131, please don't remember it wrong. Asking for flowers. 0. Also, advertisement. Before driving the warship to sea, please register the relevant information. A series of these ensigns and Layfon introduced in detail the many processes of driving a warship to sea to perform missions. If it is Vice Admiral, naturally there is no need to register so many procedures. But Layfon is only an ensign, and cannot yet have an independent marine warship. The reason why the warship can be mobilized this time is purely because of Sengoku's order. Only when going to sea to perform missions can warships be dispatched to sail. This is the power that Ensign has. And Vice Admiral, you can have an independent warship, exclusive to your own warship. Unlike the current Layfon's these, public warships. Vice Admiral's exclusive warship, which cannot be controlled and dispatched by others. But Layfon is only Ensign now, so naturally it cannot get this kind of preferential treatment. The ability to mobilize public warships is also due to the mission Layfon performed this time. Otherwise, generally speaking, Ensign is rarely able to drive a warship to sea alone. Vice Admiral can have a warship exclusively for itself. And it can also allow people to create a warship hull that belongs to their favorite style. Layfon's eyes twinkled. Vice Admiral, from yourself, not far away. Only one step away. When he returns to Marineford next time, his own strength must have entered Vice Admiral. The goal of this trip is Daughter Island, Amazon Lily. According to the preliminary conservative estimate of the navigators on this trip, if there is no accident during the voyage, then it takes 2.5 days to go back and forth. Daughter Island is not too far from Marineford. 2.5 days are used to go back and forth, and there is more than enough rubbing. And how much can Layfon's strength be improved in 2.5 days of sailing time? Vice Admiral, it is bound to be absolutely a cinch. Next, according to the words of the ensigns who were in charge of the warship, Layfon has registered all the basic information and obtained the right to pilot the warship. Layfon Rear Admiral, I wish you all the best on this mission. Several ensigns took the registered materials and left directly. Turn around. Layfon told the hundreds of marine subordinates in front of him, give you half an hour to prepare. After half an hour, gather where we are standing. Then, prepare to go to sea. Yes, Layfon Ensign. Hundreds of marines saluted in awe. Immediately, they all broke up. Watching them leave, Layfon also went back to make some preparations. On the way back to the residence, Layfon is considering whether to take Khalifa with him. Not to mention, over the past few days, Khalifa has taken care of her in every possible way, which made Layfon feel a little bit reluctant to part with this beautiful lady. The main thing is that it is too sweet. The agent of CP9 is really a good material for nanny. But on second thought, Layfon still didn't consider leaving with Khalifa. After half an hour, Layfon was fully prepared and returned to the shores of Marineford. On the coast of Tinko, where Marineford docked the warship, hundreds of elite marines were ready to go, and they had already lined up, waiting for Layfon's arrival, and none of them was absent. It can be seen from this that the hundreds of marines are all elites, and there are no crooked ones, all elites. Fu Feng was quite at ease when Garp was doing business. Those who can be sent to work under his own hands are basically the best of the best. Not to mention their strength, but in terms of attitude, these marines are all very commendable. Get ready, board the ship. Layfon waved his hand and stepped directly onto the number 1 to 31 warship. One after another, hundreds of marines, including navigators and helmsmen, all boarded the warship one after another. The goal of this trip. Daughter Island, Amazon Lily. Helmsman, navigator, set sail. With Layfon's order, the warship begins to sail. The marine flag, which is painted with the pattern of seagulls, hangs high in the air and flutters with the wind, dancing gracefully. Gradually, under the control of the helmsman, the warship slowly left the coast of Marineford port. Advertisement.